Hello. My name is Jill Osborne. I am the president and founder of the Interstitial Cystitis Network. It is Sunday, November 24th, 2019, and it is time for another live IC support group meeting. Now, normally we do these meetings on the first and third Sundays of every month. However, with all the fires we've had here in California, my schedule got massively messed up. So we're just kind of doing every Sunday right now, just for fun. I know I was laying in bed this morning going, what should I do today? What should I do today? And then it's like, wait a second. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We have to talk about Thanksgiving. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. Hello, Patricia. Nice to see you. Life is weird. My makeup is all weird today. Anyway, hi, Nicole. Hi, Christine. How are you? All right, YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Nice to see you down there. So it kind of dawned on me that actually, you know what, guys? Hold on one sec. I'll be right back. Hold on. Oh, the joys of streaming live. So I was laying in bed this morning going, okay, you could have taken today off. But then, you guys, come on. We've got a major holiday season coming. And this is stressful. This is stressful for those of us. Hi, Patty. Nice to see you. So I actually thought I would come on and talk a little bit about the holidays and how to cope with things like that today. Because honestly, your ability to navigate through the holiday season is critical here. I want you to have the best holidays you've ever had. But that's really hard when you got a bladder that might be screaming at you or a pelvic floor that might be screaming at you. So we're going to talk today a little bit about some ideas for the holidays and for those of us in the United States, Thanksgiving that's coming up. But before we do that, let me just do a little bit of an introduction. So my name is Jill Osborne. I am indeed the president of the IC Network. I am the longest IC support group leader serving in the United States. How crazy is that? I can't believe it myself. It has been 26 years since I started my first support group here in Northern California. This is my job. This is what I do. I work with patients every day. I curate the IC Network, which is rated #1 in the world by Harvard Medical School and the University of London. So if you're ever looking for information on interstitial cystitis, pelvic pain, pelvic floor dysfunctions, subtyping, I hope that you will come on over to my baby, the IC Network, icnetwork.org, so that you can learn more about it. My goal with these meetings is to be an educator. I want to make you so strong, so knowledgeable, so informed that no one can ever mess with you again. Ever. Because you know what? I'll tell you, probably aside from my first urologist who I came to adore, who really helped me, at our first meeting didn't go so well. And he ended up saying to me, Jill, you need to go talk to a psychiatrist to decide why you like to be in the bathroom so much. Something like that. And it was like, sir, I would not be here if I were not in pain. And really, how dare you suggest that this is all in my head? And then he did some further testing and he was like, oh, you're right. I was wrong. You're right. But that initial moment of disbelief, that look on their face, that doubt in their eyes, that rolling of the eyes, that not again, sensation that you kind of get from people, whether it's family members or friends, which certainly is going to happen over the holidays potentially. It's kind of a knife and dagger in your heart, right? I mean, seriously, nobody wants this. And it's very important that you not carry any shame or blame if you've got pelvic pain. You're no different than someone who was hit by a car, my friends. You got hurt. You might have gotten injured. you might have a bladder wall injury. I was working with, I'll tell you, I'll share a really interesting case I was working with on Friday. It's a gentleman who had been having IC for about 10 years, or, extreme frequency, urgency, pressure, pain, to the point that he was peeing every 30 minutes. And the doctor was talking about doing Botox. The doctor was talking about doing platelet-rich plasma, a few other things like that. Really, really aggressive, expensive therapies. And so here we're talking, and he'd never heard of the IC network before. And so I kind of introduced the concept of variations of IC, the subtypes of IC. And so I walk him back in time and I go, okay, tell me about what was happening 10 years ago when this started for you. And he said, I said, were you in any accidents? He went, no. And I said, well, anything else going on? And he goes, well, yeah. And I was like, what? He goes, well, I was kind of addicted to Dr. Pepper. I was like, okay, how much were you addicted to Dr. Pepper? He goes, well, I drank at least a liter or two a day. And do you realize that in 10 years, no one explored the concept of injury with him, but what that massive daily acid load would do to his bladder? And whatever therapies they recommended to him, nothing was going to work until he stopped the acid. So he broke his Dr. Pepper habit, which is power to you, dude. Well done. You did exactly the right thing. Your intuition was right. The Dr. Pepper was hurting you. And yet, so, we're talking about his symptoms. It's like, okay, you're peeing every 30 minutes. Well, and he had pain as his bladder filled with urine that was relieved by urination. So anytime somebody gets worse as their bladder fills and they feel better once they pee, that points us directly to the bladder wall. So I said to him, I said, gosh, given the fact that you're peeing every 30 minutes, it really sounds like there's something on a daily basis that's really irritating your bladder. Are you following the diet? He goes, yeah. And I went, all right. Do you take a vitamin? He goes, yeah, I take a vitamin from Costco. It's like, oh, okay, that's a no-no. You got to remember, when you take vitamins, your body literally cannot use 98% or roughly of the vitamin that you've just taken. You immediately slough that vitamin off into your urine. And that's why your urine turns dark yellow or bright yellow after you take a vitamin. And so it's like, okay, you can't do that because of the high level of vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, combined with B6, which also has the potential of being irritating. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And it's like, all right, what are you drinking every day? Do you drink coffee? You go, do you drink tea? He goes, no, I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. And I was like, all right, what kind of tea do you drink? Green tea. It's like, oh my God. Dude, literally the worst tea you can drink is green tea because it is profoundly acidic. And he was drinking caffeinated green tea. So we've got the jackhammer to the nerves from the caffeine combined with a massive acid load. And so, healing happens depending upon the variation of IC you have. And here, in his case, he didn't have, when we tried to subtype him, we knew he didn't have Hunner's lesions, didn't have pelvic floor issues, didn't have any nerve symptoms from pudendal neuralgia, IC subtype 4, didn't have any signs of central sensitization, IC subtype 5. Everything pointed to his bladder wall. Everything pointed to a massive addiction to Dr. Pepper and long-term chemical exposure, acid erosion of his bladder. And I think that there's a very, 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 very good shot, and this is what I said to him, is give it 3 months, give it 6 months, follow the diet, create an environment that will support healing, and there's a very good shot that your bladder will have an opportunity to heal. But of course, that's not everyone. We have many, many variations of IC. Some of you might have Hunner's lesions. Others of you might have chemocystitis or chronic infection or fungal infection or, there are many, many variations of IC. And so, again, the purpose of these support group meetings is to empower you with knowledge. I want you to be able to go back to your doctor and explore any possible confusable condition. Let's try to get to the bottom of it. You are an anatomical mystery to be solved, my friends. And and I always say this, and it's worth repeating over and over again. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Karine from Belgium. Nice to see you. Hi, Catherine. Hi, John. Yeah, the holidays are definitely a challenge. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Faith. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Edith. Oh, hey, man. We had another power outage last night. Can you believe it? Our 7th power outage. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I say to every patient is you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. Before you can have any reasonable discussion about what the right therapies are for you, you've got to understand your unique anatomy. And what do I say every single time is when you walk to a new doctor, please don't walk in and say you've got IC. Do not do that. I need you to walk into your doctor's office and describe your symptom. Hey, doc, I can't sleep through the night. I have to get up every 40 minutes, but I have a pain right here on my left side. Can you help me understand what can be going on that left side, right? We want you and your doctor focused on understanding the structures of your pelvis. We need to know potentially what's going on with your bladder. We need to know if anything's going on with your muscles. We need to know if anything else is going on with any other organs, your bowel. For women, your ovaries. I was working with another woman who had a mass on her ovary, a large mass on her ovary that she'd had for 20 years. Apparently benign, but it was pushing on her bladder, no doubt about that. So we need to know what's going on with the other organs in the pelvis to try to unravel and solve this mystery of why you're in pain. Now, I want to, when we did our support group meeting last week, thank you, Carol. Carol says, Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving right back to you. One of the beefs that I have with Facebook and with social networking in general is that it's really easy to lump yourself into all the same group. And that's a real mistake. That's a real mistake. And we've got several cases of patients who have spent hours and hours and hours and hours and days on Facebook reading IC groups and getting recommendations from other people about what they should do. And the reality is none of them know your subtype because you don't know your subtype. And their suggestions might be for their presentation of IC, but not your presentation for IC. And so we had one lady who occasionally drops into these support group meetings who was really spending all day reading support groups, trying everything related to the bladder. And when she finally got to a specialist, it wasn't her bladder. She had a pudendal nerve entrapment. She had a nerve entrapment from tight muscles. So all those bladder therapies, everything that she tried, a complete waste of time. And we had another similar case with another IC patient who, again, except this time, 30 years of bladder therapies, none of which worked. And after I said, in one of these meetings, you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. Let's try to understand your pelvis. She requested an MRI. You know what they found? A mass in her pelvis it's probably a giant bundle of scar tissue that appears to be pushing on nerves. And so it's like, okay, how could that happen? She's a big horseback rider when she was a kid and as an adult, fell off her horse many, many times. So the logical scenario in her case is that at some point in time, she sustained a pretty significant injury when she fell, developed a giant knot of scar tissue deep in her pelvic floor, which explains why having sex was painful. It explains why her bladder was uncomfortable. It explains why anytime she did pelvic floor physical therapy, which should have helped her, actually made her worse. Now we know why, because they were pushing on this big knob of scar tissue. So the take home here is that you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. And my goal with these meetings is to help you understand the variations of this, because I don't want you to suffer at home in silence. I want you to be bold. I want you to speak out. I want you to ask for help. I want you to learn as much as you can about IC so that you can walk into any doctor's office and demand the care that you deserve. Now, am I right? Hell yeah, you better believe it. Well, I mean, I hope that's what you think. I hope you think I'm right. If you think I'm right, say hell yeah. If you don't think I'm right, that's okay too. All right. So here, let me just pull something up here real quick. Okay, I got some thumbs up on Facebook, so maybe I'm right. So hold on a sec. I want to talk about so the way we do these meetings is we spend the first 30 minutes, first 30, 45 minutes with some educational content, the equivalent of a little mini lecture from me to you. Take it as you see it. And then usually we do 2 hours or so of questions or more. We can go, I've been known to go 5 hours. We'll see. Here, hold on a second, my friends. Let me just find this one thing real quick. Here we go. That's what I want. Okay, that really, 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 really helps me. Okay. As you can tell, we are approaching the holidays. I now have a little mini holiday display, which will probably change. But anyway, of course, I wish you joy. Just because you have IC, that doesn't mean that you can't have joy during your holidays. But what it does mean is that you've got to do some really good planning, really good decision making. And I think also you've got to be a little bit on the assertive side sometime. Number one. There is no such thing as a perfect holiday. Nothing. Do not try to be perfect. It is impossible for you to be perfect. And I know that, you know, one of the joys of the holiday season and Thanksgiving is everybody that you love coming together and you guys having your certain tradition and, you know, grandma making her famous Jello salad and your sister making the turkey and you making this or that. And that we all have kind of predefined expectations for what a perfect holiday can be. But here's the reality. People get sick. There's a giant snowstorm, as many of you are going through right now, 3 storms back east. You got to go with the flow, my friends. You got to go with the flow. If you cannot get to grandma's house, that's fine. You can stay home and do your own holiday with your family and friends. And so, you know, sometimes the joy of the holidays lays in the spontaneity of the holidays. And when you think back over the years and you think back about the really, really funny stories, they're never about perfection. They're about imperfection. They're about goofy things happening. Like, what was the time somebody baked a Band-Aid in the lasagna? Like, because in our family, we used to have lasagna every night before Christmas on Christmas Eve. And here my brother, the pickiest eater in the family, like literally would 2 forks, pry it apart, look for any little pieces of onion, surgically dissect the lasagna, move it over to the side. Now imagine this guy, right? He's dissecting, looking for onion because he didn't trust us. And what does he pull up on his fork? A Band-Aid. My mother lost a Band-Aid from her finger into the lasagna. Okay, now that's going to be a long-standing memory. Another long-standing memory of our family is a time my grandmother made weevil soup at my aunt's house. She was having trouble seeing, and she put noodles or something in it, and it turned out the noodles had weevils in it. And my cousin Susie is like, she serves the soup, and my cousin Susie is seeing these little weevils, these little worms floating, and she picks it up and goes, what is this? You know, okay, so come on, guys. Relish in the funny stuff. Make it funny if you can. That's number 1. All right, number 2. And I think this is really the most important part of the holidays is you need to have permission to say no. And when people ask me what was a transformative moment in my recovery, it was exactly this. And I talk about this frequently. My mom, I love her. She's 90 years old. She's eating brunch right now in the kitchen. My dad just turned 97. Is a master of guilting us into doing things. And so in my first couple of years, my first year with IC was really, really painful. And yet she was still able to guilt me into getting in a car and going places, even though I'm just like screaming inside, right? Because it was so painful. And finally, after an agonizing day where I was having a terrible flare, she wanted to go over to Sacramento to see my brother. She said, asked me to drive her. I didn't want to go, but she guilted me into it. 100-mile drive, back and forth, 200 miles total. And it was never again. I was just in agony. And from that point forward, what I said to her is, I get to come first sometimes. I get to come first sometimes. And I am not going to do something if I feel terrible. Because it happens. I mean, it happened a couple of years where I would go up to my sister's for Christmas, but I would be in such pain at the time. And you guys, I'm pain-free now, so don't assume you're going to be in pain all the time. I would get there and the drive would be so traumatic for me that I would just be crying, and I would go up into her bedroom and I would just lay in the fetal position with a heating pad on her bed while everybody else was opening presents or eating Thanksgiving or whatever. And again, it was very liberating and empowering for me to decide that morning how I felt. I took the emotionality out of it. I took the guilt out of it. And so what I basically said is, I want to be there. I'm going to try to be there, but I'm going to wait until that morning to decide if I'm well enough to come. And if my pain is over a 4 out of 10, I'm going to stay home. If my pain is underneath a 4, I'm going to come. And I took all the emotionality out of it, all of the stress out of it. And I just waited till that morning, not the night before, just to decide how I felt. And there were a couple of holidays where I was left behind. And you know what? I loved every minute of it. I got to get a heating pad. I got to use my medication. I got to lay on a couch. I got to watch a movie, and they brought dinner back for me. And that was exactly what I needed to do that day. Exactly what I needed to do. So I want to empower you. To gently say no if you need to say no. And if that means that the rest of your family goes to grandma's house, that's fine. If that means that your family stays in your home for Thanksgiving, and you guys, instead of having turkey, you make waffles and you play Monopoly and you watch a silly movie, or you put your Christmas tree up, power to you, my friends, power to you. We know that driving long distances will trigger pelvic floor spasms, at least it does for me, and irritate the bladder. And so this might not be the time for you to take a long car ride. And that's okay. That's okay. The best case scenario is to invite people to your home, or to make a secondary thing where instead of doing like my nephew came yesterday with his family to visit with my parents because they weren't going to be there. It's not the day that matters as much as it is the time that you spend with your family and friends. And so make time when you're feeling better. But if you're having a bad day, you can stay home, hopefully. So the next thing that we have to ponder with the holidays is food. And here's the deal. Thanksgiving is the perfect IC friendly holiday. It's the perfect IC friendly holiday. Turkey, chicken, IC friendly. Mashed potatoes, IC friendly. Stuffing, as long as there's nothing spicy in it, IC friendly. Steamed broccoli, your favorite vegetable, usually IC friendly. For me, it's carrots, sauteed carrots and butter with a little bit of brown sugar, friendly. Pumpkin, friendly. Pumpkin pie, friendly. I'm going to make a low acid apple pie this year with Fuji apples, IC friendly. But what do you do if you go to grandma's house and she's made spicy lasagna? And you don't want to disappoint her. You don't want, and no matter what you say, it's like it doesn't resonate. It's like, Jill, this is tradition, eat your damn lasagna. It's like, no, it's okay to bring food. It's okay to bring food for you. It's also okay for you to eat ahead of time so that you're not that hungry when you get there. It might be really useful for you to have some pre-leaf. Right? Okay, so seriously, go down to CVS, stock up on pre-leaf. Pre-leaf is an acid-reducing supplement so that you can take before a meal. If you're worried about the cranberry sauce, take a little bit of pre-leaf ahead of time. It's remarkably effective. It's a calcium supplement, kind of like Tums. And this might get you through that awkward moment where you know you're going to break her heart if you don't take a couple of bites of her lasagna. So 1 pre-leaf ahead of time, 2 pre-leaves ahead of time will negate that. Just don't chow down on the lasagna, right? Seriously? Seriously. And if you're doing a potluck and you have the opportunity to bring something, make something that's IC friendly. Make something that you know you can love. If there's only one thing you eat on that holiday, it's going to be the thing that you bring. Right? Right. Another challenge with the holidays, especially for the ladies out there, is that it often rests on your shoulders. It's like it's your job. You're the one who's supposed to be making dinner. You're the one who's supposed to be decorating. You're the one who's supposed to be cleaning your house before it goes. You're the one who's supposed to be cleaning up after everybody leaves and you've got 12 people that were eating there. It is not, listen, don't hide it. You need help. Ask for it. There need to be very clear expectations. And so if you've got other family members, you've got to remind them that they've got to carry the fair share. They've got to carry the fair share. So like in our family, because I live in a fairly small house, we set up the big table in our living room and we can get, and sometimes a card table too. So we can get 18 people in there, right? But after we're done eating, as we're sitting around chatting, I start breaking everything down. I want that room reset as people are leaving so that I don't have to carry 18 plates into the kitchen. So I don't have to move 18 chairs, reorient everything, vacuum the floor, whatever, right? So if you are worried about your house, hire a cleaning service. Ask a cleaning service to come in the day before Christmas, or it might be a little too soon to schedule that before Thanksgiving. If you've got young children and you're worried about that, come on, guys, you got to teach them that they too have to contribute. For there are some people out there who don't let their kids do everything. This is the time for them to learn. Holidays are about helping each other, being with each other, laughing with each other, having great memories with each other. And you can make great memories baking the dishes into the kitchen while you're singing Christmas carols, right? It's possible. It's possible. So share the load. Another thing that I really, really, really think is important is, again, it's all about kind of your own preconceived notions of what a successful holiday is. And so for some of you, a successful holiday is having everybody come for Thanksgiving. For others, a successful holiday might be going out to dinner instead of a homemade dinner. For others, it might just be you and your little family, your small core group of 4 people doing your thing together because you want to start your new traditions. And I think it's really, really lovely to ask everybody in your core group for one thing that they would like to do during the holiday season. What would be the one thing that would really make them feel good? For some, it's going to be making cookies, the cutout cookies with frosting. That's a wonderful holiday while you're playing Christmas carols. For others, like me, it's making Christmas bread. I usually make 20 to 25 loaves of Norwegian Christmas bread, my great-grandmother's recipe for the family. That's my big tradition for one day. For others, it might be going and taking a long hike, or it might be camping, or it might be going to Lake Tahoe or something like that. Give everybody in the family an opportunity to pick just one thing that they would like to do this holiday and then try to make that happen. Don't try to meet all of the other past traditions and ask a new one. Again, be adaptive, be flexible, and remember that the joy is in the small, funny moments when things get screwed up, right? I think it is at least. I have a very, very, very dear friend whose mother was the epitome of the social. I don't know what you call it. For her, parties were everything. Everything had to be in its place, and the Christmas tree had to be perfect. Like literally, she would take 2 weeks to put up her Christmas tree, and she'd have multiple Christmas trees. And the kids weren't allowed to do anything because for the mom, it had to be perfect. It's very, very important that you let your children, if you have children, create some of your memories and let them do some of the decorating, especially if you don't feel good. Come on. My sister and I were doing our Christmas tree from the time we were like 5 and 7, 8 years old. Let your children do more. It's okay to do that. This is now the last one is kind of the hardest one, and that is about depression. And I got to tell you, I was pretty depressed. I wasn't just pretty depressed. I was really depressed yesterday. Like really depressed, which is really rare for me. And I kind of went into this cycle of you're not married, you don't have somebody who loves you, you don't have children, who wants you, that we all have kind of these ups and downs and ups and downs. And sometimes it's accumulated stress, and sometimes it's just being lonely, and sometimes it's just having those moments when you are allowed to not be on. You're allowed to have a dark day. I don't want you to have days and days and days of this. For me, it was from like 6 o'clock last night to the time I went to bed. I was feeling rather sorry for myself, if I do say so. I don't feel sorry for myself today because I always go back into my affirmations and I remind myself that I'm here for a reason and God has me here for a reason and I'm proud of who I am and all that sort of stuff. But the holidays can bring out some pretty rough moments, especially if you've lost someone. Going through these holidays for the first time can be challenging. And so if you're feeling the blues, and you're feeling the blues more than a day or two, it's really, really, really important that you have someone to talk with. You're not alone. Holiday blues happen. And this is the time, especially, if you're single like I am, or, life has let you down in some significant way, or you've got to go see family and you're worried about their judgment, or you lost your job and you're worried what people are going to say, worry, 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 right? Stress, stress, stress. It adds on. I was listening to a lecture by Joel Osteen yesterday in the car, and it was called Live in Peace. And he said something really important. He said, you have a limited emotional capacity every day. We have limited resources. We don't have an infinite ability to absorb bad news. We have a certain amount of emotional quota every day to give to our lives. And he talked really specifically about how are you allocating your emotional time and your emotional health. If you're watching the news all day, you are going to get overwhelmed. Murder this, politics this, nature this, storms, fires, earthquakes. It is freaking depressing. It is emotionally impossible for anyone to absorb all of that information. And frankly, you don't need to know 90% of that because that doesn't affect you personally. And he was being very assertive about reminding us to turn off the freaking TV, or at least to turn off the news. And the same is true with social networking. That if you're on all day reading bad stories and Twitter and all that sort of stuff, and you're allowing yourself to get upset over and over and over and over again, you are going to deplete your emotional resources. It is much better to turn off all of your power. I got to say this myself, all of your electronics, and get the heck outside. I know it's cold. If you've got ski boots, put your parka on and just go sit on your front porch and breathe and listen to the birds if you can. Take a walk if you can. Go to a movie. Do something other than watching the news. We've got to really try to protect ourselves. There's a meditation technique that I really, 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 really love. And it has served me very, very well being on the internet, because I will tell you, you guys, you have to remember that the very first online support groups I started on our website, and it was in our forum. And I will tell you, we had 200,000 people a month visiting our support group. And it is impossible to make everybody happy. Impossible. So I had some people yelling at me saying, hey, you're not talking about this. I had others saying, you're not talking about this, or whatever. And it made me absolutely crazy. And if I made this person happy, I made that person angry. If I made that person happy, I made this person angry. And ultimately, in the end, what I had to do is I had to say, now, wait a second, this is your project. I have to follow my heart here. I got to follow my intention here, because ultimately, in the end, it's my responsibility, right? So there's this wonderful technique that you can give to children who have nightmares, and it's called the pink bubble. And so and you can use it too. So when you lay down on your bed to go to sleep, what you want to do is you want to close your eyes and visualize your whole bed encased in this amazing pink bubble. You can do whatever color you want. Pink bubble. And the bubble protects you. Nothing can get through the bubble. Nothing. No nightmares, no bad feelings, nobody attacking you. This is your safe area. And we all have to learn to let in the good stuff and keep out the bad stuff. And the same would be true for your children who might have nightmares. You teach them to let in the good stuff, but you keep out the bad stuff. That the pink bubble is barrier. And that has worked remarkably well for the internet in general. You've got to have your own boundaries. And you can't let anybody online, especially somebody you don't know, make you feel bad. The only people who matter, to be quite honest, are the people who know you personally. If you've fallen off the track and you have a brother or a sister who say, hey, hon, that was a little harsh, man, you pay attention to that, because they're invested in you. But if you just make a plain statement online and somebody, out 10 states over says, hey, well, you're a you know what, that shouldn't matter. That's their opinion. Remember, 25% of the people you meet are going to like you. 25% of the people you meet are not going to like you. 25% of the people you meet are going to like you, but their opinion can be changed for the worse. 25% of the people are not going to like you, but their opinion can be changed for the better. Don't exhaust yourself trying to convert somebody who just doesn't like you and will never like you, right? You have to let your actions speak louder than anybody else's word. That's a off topic. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is you got to have a bubble. You got to have a bubble. You got to protect yourself. You get to come first. And that's not only with the internet, that's with family too. If you go to a holiday and you've got somebody who's pretty harsh and negative at your holidays, visualize a bubble. Whatever they say cannot get through. Whatever they say cannot get through. You are safe and at peace in your bubble. And bring your beloved family members in there too. They are in your bubble. Okay. I hope that kind of makes sense. Does that? I hope so. All right. So I hope that makes sense. I really do. I really, really, really do. Last but not least, it's all about the best gift that you can give yourself and your family is you. You are irreplaceable. You have to take care of yourself before you can start taking care of everyone else. And that includes taking frequent breaks to regain your energy. It's about pacing yourself. It's about eating well. It's about indulging in the holiday spirit when you can. And for those days when you're not your best, taking a step back, resting and relaxing. There will be more holidays. If you have to stay home for this holiday, that's okay. You get to put yourself first. All right? Okay, so let us take it. Okay, so hold on a sec. I'm going to take a deep breath in and out. In and out. One more time, my friends. In and out. Let's do a couple affirmations. I can do all things through, insert your faith or whatever. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But again, insert your own faith. You don't have to say Christ. Say whatever's meaningful to you. Every day, in every way, my life is getting better and better and better. That which is done for you, let it be done. That which you must do for yourself, do it. Do it. And my all-time favorite, be bold, and mighty forces shall come to thy aid. If you're walking into a holiday and you've got somebody who isn't particularly helpful, be bold and ask them to help. Be bold, and mighty forces shall come to thy aid. I was working with a patient last week who clearly, so her case was really, really interesting because, I wrote it down. Oh, here it is. Where is it? She had, during her hysterectomy, a suspension of a bulking of her urethra. And they, where is it? I wrote it down. Hold on. And it's where they insert little pellets or a substance around the urethra to support the urethra. And she had the worst adverse event you can have from it. It moved. These little tiny pellets moved. Coaptite, moved up into her bladder wall. So now she's got these little foreign objects that are starting to come through her bladder wall, all over her bladder. And so that's one of the kind of rarer types that we see of IC patients where there's some sort of perforating injury, whether it's a stitch or something like that. In this case, it is this bulking agent. And I told her, girl, be bold. email the top doctors in the United States. And I told her how to get their emails because there's a way to get their emails. Ask them, be bold. Send them an email. Hey, have you ever done this? Have you ever removed coaptite from the bladder wall? And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's see who responds. So don't sit at home and suffer. Be bold. It's okay to pick up the phone and call people. It's okay to email people. It's okay to talk to experts, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's take some of your questions. I kind of hurt my back yesterday, so I'm going to be very squirmy today. Ugh. Brenda says, pre-leaf is amazing. Yeah, it is. It works well. Deborah uses pre-leaf. Lauren says she uses Urology Blue for her rescue medicine. Sherry uses Calciblend instead of pre-leaf. That's another option. John Lee says, can pre-leaf be constipating since it's calcium? Not usually. Not usually. You know, guys, you don't take pre-leaf like candy. What you do is you use it before a meal. So there are some people who just swallow it all day. That's a huge mistake. And I think it could be constipating potentially, or contribute to an excess of calcium in your bloodstream if you're taking a lot of pre-leaf all day. You only take it on an as needed basis right before a meal. Remember, pre-leaf does not act on the bladder wall. It's not a treatment for a bladder wall. All it does is reduce acid in your urine. Yvonne says, why does pre-leaf not work for you? You know, Yvonne, what that says to me is that your bladder wall is probably not driving your symptoms then. If you had open wounds on your bladder and you were eating something acidic, pre-leaf absolutely would help. If pre-leaf doesn't work for you, what that actually tells me is that your bladder wall is probably better than you think it is, and your symptoms might be being generated from something else like your pelvic floor. That would be the most logical assumption here. I mean, there are other things I can visualize, but that's what kind of makes the most sense here. Hello, Rhonda. Sherry says, I use lidocaine every time I go pee for several years now. It always helps, but I know I shouldn't use it so often. It's my go-to along with hydrocodone. Where do you use the lidocaine? Are you using a topical lidocaine on your urethra, or are you doing a lidocaine installation in your bladder? Rhonda says, where can I find the list I put together for colds and flus? So last year, you guys, at the end of the year, I did a big, or it might have been last January, a really, really big article on cold and flu strategies. It's over on our website, hun. So if you go over to the IC network, I'm doing that right now. Let's see, and I'm going to search for cold and cold. Just going to search for cold. Yeah, it's right there, hun. 2019 cold and flu survey results. Okay, so icnetwork.org, go to the search command and just search for the word cold, and it'll be the first link that comes up. There's actually 2 articles in there on how to get through colds and flus. And I will so what we did last year is we surveyed more than 100 patients about what their best cold and flu strategies were. And also for those of you who are IC Network members, you've got a much more extensive list in your winter 2019 IC Optimist magazine. So what we did is we surveyed for favorite sore throat products, and I'll tell you right now, honey, anything with honey got the best reviews. Favorite cough products were Hall's cough drops or Ricola cough drops, although I happen to like Luden's cough drops myself. Favorite flavor of drops, honey. Favorite decongestion projects, Mucinex and Vicks VapoRub. We have a lot of tips on what to do when you can't stop coughing. What is your favorite cold and flu strategy? Any secret weapons? What do you use to prevent colds and flus? What words of advice can you give to other patients struggling with colds and flus? So anyway, go on over there. It's a huge article and lots of goodies there. I'm the Vicks VapoRub girl myself. I love Vicks VapoRub. Deborah says she lost her mother on December 23rd, right before Christmas. Oh, hon, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And yet, you know what, Deborah? I bet your mother absolutely loved Christmas. And she would want you to celebrate Christmas exactly the way she did, knowing that she is with you every step of the way, right? She's with you every step of the way. And so, yeah, 5 years ago. Another thing, I think one of the things that's really, really a nice way to deal with some of the grief that can happen over the holidays is to think about what the person you lost loved the most. Did they have a cause that they did every year? Did they go volunteer at the food pantry? Did they donate food? Did they work at the animal shelter? Did they, work with the Girl Scouts or 4-H or anything at all like that? I think that one of the best ways to honor the memory of someone that you've lost is to, as a family, do something that would make them proud. You can do it for an hour on a Saturday, sometime in December. And so if it is doing, if it's doing a garage sale to make some money that you can donate to a homeless shelter on her behalf, or if it's many churches take memorial bouquets that are out for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. But this is what I know. She loves you then, she loved you then, and she loves you now. And she wants you to celebrate all the joys that she nurtured over the holidays. And so she doesn't want you to be sad, but what she wants you, she certainly, in my opinion, wants you to remember her and do it in a way that honors her. And I think that you will all feel much better about that. Vicky says, I'm widowed. Wedding anniversary was Friday, then Thanksgiving plus seasonal affective disorder. I love what you're saying. We're human. We're human. We have these moments. I actually laid in bed this morning for like 2 hours. I woke up, literally I laid in bed this morning and was asking myself, what do I want to do today? Because technically today's supposed to be my day off. And I wanted to come and be with you guys. And I wanted to give us a pep talk about approaching the holidays. If you could do one thing to honor a family member who is gone, what would it be? Guys, write it in chat. Write it in chat. What would it be? Hey, look at you guys down on YouTube. Hey, Ellen. Nice to see you. Hi, Iris. Hello, Donna. Oh, and you guys, for our winners last week, because we had another power outage, your Peora has not gone out yet, but it is going to go out. I've got your names right here. I apologize. We just had to catch up on stuff. We even had a power outage. 4 phone calls in the middle of the night. All right, they shut off our power again in the middle of the night last night. Thankfully, I have it today. Weird. Wendy says, what do you do during a flare to help with the pain? Wendy, it depends upon the type of pain you have. If you're having, you can have different types of pain. So if you have the question that we ask is, when is your pain the worst? Before you pee or after you're done peeing? If you have pain as your bladder fills with urine that is relieved by urination, that is your bladder wall. If you have pain not before you pee, but after you're done peeing, that is usually your pelvic floor or something to do with muscles. And so if it's before you urinate, then you're going to be doing things that are going to maybe dilute your urine. If you come on over to our website, icnetwork.org, and sign up for our newsletter, you will get us a gift, our 40-page flare management guide. And it has hour-by-hour rescue plans for both bladder wall flares and pelvic floor flares and stress flares. So go on over there. Marie says, I wanted to let you know I'm on antibiotics and doing better. Hun, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy. This has been the hot button this year, is the role of chronic infection. And while I certainly cannot support any statement that every IC patient has chronic infection, because we simply know that that's not true, there are some patients who do have some type of chronic infection, a smaller group of patients, whether it's bacterial or fungal or viral. And for those patients, these are the patients who feel better on antibiotics, and when they go off antibiotics, they feel worse. And it's a real conundrum right now. It's a real conundrum because you cannot easily see chronic infection. You can use next generation urine testing to potentially see it, but some people disagree with that too. But Marie, the fact that you're on antibiotics and you're feeling better, that's encouraging to me. Remember though, that antibiotics have an anti-inflammatory effect too. So things are changing. I would combine that with, Marie, I don't know, did you have the next generation test? Did they actually find an infection for you? Donna asked about the Mona Lisa procedure. Your gym or your gyne? Your gyne is recommending it? That's like your gym. You know what? Isn't the Mona Lisa procedure using the laser to kind of rejuvenate the vagina? Oh, girl, Marie, wasn't it during the last meeting that you were bleeding? You were bleeding heavily you had blood in your urine? And I told you to go to the emergency room? And so did they at the emergency room discover the infection? So getting back to Mona Lisa, guys, the FDA just issued an alert this summer about techniques like the Mona Lisa, making crazy promises that it will do certain things like reduce pain, when in fact, what we now know is that some people are getting burned by the lasers. And it is not recommended to the degree that it used to be recommended. The FDA has gotten very strong and involved on this topic. So if I were you, I would do a Google search for FDA warning Mona Lisa or FDA warning vaginal rejuvenation, so that you can see that FDA alert. And you know what? Let me just find it. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is right here. First thing, I just searched for FDA vaginal rejuvenation. So this was issued July 30th, 2008. The audience are patients considering any vaginal rejuvenation or cosmetic vaginal procedure, or procedures intended to treat vaginal conditions and symptoms related to menopause, incontinence, or sexual function, as well as healthcare providers who are performing vaginal procedures using energy-based devices, aka lasers. This is the primary care, OBGYN, plastic surgery. Energy-based devices, commonly radio frequency or laser, that have received FDA clearance for general gynecological tool indications, including but not limited to the destruction of abnormal or precancerous cervical or vaginal tissue or genital warts. They say the safety and effectiveness has not been firmly established. We are aware that certain manufacturers may be marketing their devices for vaginal rejuvenation. They call that in ill-defined terms. However, it is sometimes used to describe non-surgical procedures intended to treat vaginal symptoms or conditions, including vaginal laxity, atrophy, dryness, itching, pain during sex, pain during urination, decreased sexual sensation. Today, the FDA has not cleared or approved for marketing any of these devices to treat any of these symptoms or any symptoms related to menopause, incontinence, or sexual function. And they have sent letters to these manufacturers to get them to stop doing it. But hold on a sec. There was something here about hold on a sec. They say they're deeply concerned about women being harmed. Numerous adverse events in which the devices resulted in vaginal burns, scarring, pain during intercourse, and chronic pain. All right, there you go, Iris. I wouldn't want to do something that has been linked to vaginal burns, scarring, pain during intercourse, or chronic pain. They call it deceptive marketing of a dangerous procedure with no proven benefit, including to women who have been treated for cancer. It's egregious. They added the misleading marketing of unproven treatments might keep some women from receiving appropriate evidence-based care. They've sent letters to lots of companies about them marketing this. All right. I don't know. I just have more confidence in the human body. I sometimes think that you know, mankind will never be able to make a butterfly wing. Nature is magical. Nature is mysterious. Nature is far smarter than we will ever be. And sometimes we put profit instead of common sense in terms of medical devices and things like that. It doesn't make sense to me to take an aging vagina that is potentially dry and burning it with a laser. I think that the human body knows what it's supposed to be doing at times. I don't know. That's my thought. But I come from a less is more perspective with everything anyway. So. Lynn says she's very confused about the different supplements out there. Okay, so let us just go through the supplements and I'll give you feedback. Okay, so hold on a second. All right. How about a little, let me just give you some history. Let's do it historically. Okay. So the first supplement 20 years ago that was introduced to the IC community was obviously Pre-Leaf. Developed by Alan Kligerman at AK Pharma. This is the longest supplement that has ever been used. It does not act on the human body. All it does is reduce acid level of urine. So you don't take Pre-Leaf to try to heal your bladder. And remember too, no supplement can heal your bladder. Only your bladder can heal your bladder. This is about creating an environment that will support healing, okay? The second supplement that was created also around that time is a supplement called Sisto. And Sisto is made by Far Laboratories. It's rarely used now, but it was a groundbreaker because it was the first supplement that used quercetin, and quercetin has an anti-inflammatory effect. So quercetin is now in almost every good supplement, actually an antihistaminic effect, not an anti-inflammatory effect. So pretty much all of the good quote unquote urinary supplements will have quercetin in it. Now, Sisto is now rarely used in the US because we've learned a lot since then, but Sisto is available up in Canada and is approved as a therapy, I believe, in Canada. It doesn't have any bladder coating effect. And that's where the third supplement that was ever created changed the IC world, and that is called Sisto Protec. Sisto Protec was created by Dr. Theoharides at Tufts University, again, about 18 years ago. He's federally funded IC researcher, and his story is very interesting. Dr. Theo, and I exchanged email with him, and I've talked with him many, many times. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's kind of a nerd's nerd when it comes to medicine. You know, he is a master pharmacologist. He's a master drug scientist. My degree's in pharmacology, so you know I totally get the nerdiness and the geekiness of it, and I say that with all fondness because we need people who understand the science. So, as part of his work at Tufts University, the state of Massachusetts asked him to investigate the safety of supplements. And so he did that. And as he was doing that research and gathering that data for the state, he was just going, I wonder if this could help IC. And as he continued to go over this research, it just became a very strong belief that perhaps a supplement had the potential of helping IC, when for some people traditional medications are completely unaffordable and or unavailable. And so he created a company called Algonot, Algonot. Algonot means no pain in Greek, because he is Greek. And his first product was Algonot, and then within about a year he reformulated that and made Sisto Protec. So Sisto Protec has two methods of action. It has the antihistaminic effects of the quercetin combined with bladder coating effects of hyaluronate and chondroitin. And then because, again, is a major federally funded IC researcher at the time, he backed it up with research. And he had several hundred patients use it over a long period of time. And then they published the data in an article in the Canadian Journal of Urology. And if I remember correctly, it was something like 250, 260 patients who took it for at least 6 months or longer. And again, if I remember correctly, something like 55 to 60% of patients noted an improvement, a significant improvement in their symptoms. And in that study, the patients who were suffering the most did the best. So Sisto Protec very quickly, and for about 15 years, was absolutely the top supplement. But, you know, we've learned a lot about IC since then. And I had been talking with Dr. Theo several times over the last 15 years about what his next supplement was going to be. Because I thought for sure he was going to upgrade this formula and create something new. But he's moved on. He's doing other things now. He works with autism now. So he's not going to be changing this formula. And unfortunately, for those of you who know, Sisto Protec just about died in the marketplace earlier this year. So what happened is Algonot sold the U.S. licensing rights of Sisto Protec to another company. They sold it first to, who'd they sell it to first? Allergan. They sold the U.S. licensing rights for Sisto Protec to a company called Allergan. And Allergan was fantastic. I trained their sales manager in IC. She came out and spent a couple of days with us, learned more about IC. They had a very nice marketing campaign to IC patients. They really worked their butt off to really promote this. And I trusted them. Allergan was bought by Meta Consumer Health. Meta Consumer Health fired everyone and canceled all of their IC activities. Meta Consumer Health had kind of a lean and mean corporate approach. And so literally they got rid of most of the staff, they cut back on everything, and they just sold the product. And they were very difficult to work with because they never told us anything. Where Allergan would tell us if there was going to be a shortage. Meta didn't until it happened. Very, very frustrating. Meta was then bought by Mylan 3 years ago. And Mylan Pharmaceuticals or Consumer Health um, uh, is a somewhat notorious company because they're the ones who raised the price of the EpiPen 600%. Thankfully, I guess thankfully for us, they weren't that interested in doing anything with Sisto Protec, and so they didn't raise the price, which I thought they were going to do. But then they did something that was catastrophic. They added a FDA warning label, or they added a Prop 65 warning label to the bottle last spring, and in literally a month destroyed this as a brand. The FDA warning, it said cancer and reproductive harm is due to an ingredient called, and in fact, here's the warning right here. I don't know if you can see this. And I don't know if you can see that or not. You see the word warning? Due to an ingredient called titanium dioxide. And titanium dioxide, if you breathe it in, has absolutely been linked to lung cancer, but it is FDA approved as a food coloring. And so it is in here as a food coloring. So technically there's no warnings about that, but who in their right mind is going to take a supplement that says warning, cancer and reproductive harm? So Sisto Protec died a very, very sudden death. Although I am thankful to let you know now that they listened to me. I chewed them out over months, and it has now been reformulated to remove the titanium dioxide, and we will have Sisto Protec probably within 10 days for those of you who want to go back on Sisto Protec. Okay, but this was out of the running for months, 6 months. So the next supplement that has been around for a long time is Desert Harvest Aloe. Desert Harvest Aloe. Aloe is very soothing to burns. And so Desert Harvest Aloe was started by two sisters, one of whom had IC, who felt better using aloe. And to make a very long story short, they decided to create a supplement, quote unquote, for IC that might help, or people with a tender bladder, that might help calm and soothe the bladder. And they were absolutely right. And so Desert Harvest Aloe has a calming and soothing effect. This company, again, 15, 16, 18 years ago, maybe even longer, did a double-blind placebo-controlled study with their product. It's a very small study. I want to say either 11 or 9 or 8 patients in that study. So the size of the study kind of minimizes the results of the study to a certain degree. But what it did find is that many patients felt better using aloe. So aloe is out there also as a supplement. And it has a coating and soothing effect to the bladder. I have one very interesting case with the aloe that I think you might find interesting, although not with this specific brand. There's another brand like that is a man's name that has an aloe drink. And I always forget the name of it. Let me see if I can find it. Aloe. Let me see if I can find the name. George's Aloe. George's Aloe. So years and years ago, we had a young mother whose very young son had pain in his penis. And all he could say was, my pee-pee hurts, my pee-pee hurts. Like 3 years old, 3 to 4 years old. He couldn't say urethra, he couldn't say anything else. Diagnosed with quote unquote IC. And the thing that turned off his urethral pain or tremendously improved his urethral pain was aloe. So there is a place for aloe. The challenge with aloe is that some patients are aloe intolerant. And if you're aloe intolerant, when you take aloe, it gives you gut distress. It can give you stomach ache and more bowel issues, diarrhea. So there are people out there who cannot tolerate aloe. The next supplement that was created historically was created about 6 years ago, and it's called Sisto Renew. And this was created by Dr. Gio Espinosa, who is the director of integrative urology at New York University. And this, to me, is kind of a next generation. At the time it was created, it's a next generation supplement, like one step above Sisto Protec. And so it contains the same ingredients as Sisto Protec. It's got the chondroitin, it's got the quercetin, it's got um, let's see, what else does it have in it? Okay, but what he did, so it's got the chondroitin for the bladder coating effect. It's got the antihistamine from the quercetin. He added L-arginine, L-citrulline, and a proprietary blend of aloe combined with lemon balm. Now, lemon balm is a mint with a lemony scent. And lemon balm is known for its ability to kind of calm nerves down. So where Sisto Protec has 2 methods of action, this one has 4 methods of action, right? 4 methods of action. So it's got the antihistaminic effect, it's got the coating effect, it's got the soothing effect of the aloe, and then it's got the nerve calming effect of the lemon balm. So when this came out, a lot of people who were doing Sisto Protec converted to Sisto Renew, and they felt that it was a much better formula. But there was, again, a subset of patients who just preferred the Sisto Protec formula, okay? Now, when the blank hit the fan this spring and Sisto Protec was no longer available, we had to come up with something quick. And so we had, for the year before that, been working with a new company called Natural Approach Nutrition. And there were a group of people, and I was one of those people, along with the top IC researcher in the United States, trying to reimagine supplements. And the reason, and the very, very simple reason why, and that is the traditional medications now are associated with really, in some cases, dire side effects. Elmeron is now associated with eye damage and, for some people, potential blindness. And the typical bladder medications, the ditropans, the detrols, the Elavils, which is an antidepressant, are now associated with dementia and Alzheimer's and cognitive decline. So it's like, what the hell is the patient supposed to do when the vast majority of the oral medications that are in the AUA guidelines as therapies for IC now come with pretty significant risks? And so again, we were all just kind of taking a look at supplements and going, can we reimagine a supplement and maybe create a more effective supplement? And over a period of a year, and Bladder Builder became the result of this collaboration. And so Bladder Builder has many more methods of action. It has many different ways it has the potential of helping people. So it's got all the same ingredients as Sisto Protec, but with a lot more added. So it's got the chondroitin for the bladder coating effect. It's got the hyaluronate for the bladder coating effect. It's got the quercetin for the antihistaminic effect. It's got the amino acids. It's got collagen in it for the bladder wall. It's got a select a combination of minerals, specifically calcium carbonate and calcium glycinate. It's got magnesium in it. It's got probiotics in it. It's got probiotics in it because we now know, based on research by the MAP Research Network, that some patients are deficient in important beneficial bacteria. So this is the first supplement to add some probiotics to it. And then literally last spring, or late winter last year, they made the decision to add PEA to it. PEA is known as palmitoethanolamide. Palmitoethanolamide has been used in Europe for more than a decade for a lot of chronic pain conditions, and there's a ton of research behind it. And where is my bottle? Where is my bottle? Where is it? It's got to be here. It wouldn't have walked out the door. All right. Oh, well, it's done a runner. My philosophy on things that go missing around the house is that when it's ready to be found, it will be found again. All right. So PEA, palmitoethanolamide, has now been used for more than a decade in Europe for a lot of different pain conditions, very, very successfully and verified in research studies. And in fact, I had an email from a patient using Bladder Builder who said that it's dramatically helped her arthritis, which is and her nerve pain, which is great. So anyway, okay, wait, what did I do with it? So we had made the decision to add PEA to this, not knowing that in May, the Italian IC researchers would issue the first formal PEA IC research study with dramatic results, very, very successful. In that study, IC patients using a combination of PEA and resveratrol at 3 months, 87% of patients had a significant reduction of their pain. At 6 months, every single patient in their study had a significant reduction in their pain, and 25% were pain-free. So that's very, very exciting. So Bladder Builder is the first supplement to also contain PEA. So it's a combination of bladder support with the PEA and the probiotics. The challenge with this is that some of you flare with probiotics. I don't understand why. I have no clue why. And anatomically, biologically, that makes no sense that patients would flare with probiotics, and yet some of you do, just like some of you are intolerant to aloe. So if you're one of those patients who are super, super sensitive, I would not start with this one first. There are too many ingredients in this, but we've got well over 1,000 patients using this successfully. The second to the last supplement is Bladder Rest. Bladder Rest is a more direct one-on-one comparison to Sisto Protec, only it's a stronger formula. It has more of the essential ingredients in it. So if you love the Sisto Protec, but you wanted something that was more affordable, because this is $10 cheaper, and yet it has more of the same ingredients, Bladder Rest would be your bet. And then last but not least is Peora. And Peora, I don't know where my bottle went. It should be here. It's so weird. I didn't mail it to anybody. I was holding it up. That's so weird. Okay, anyway, Peora is the last supplement, and that is just the pain-fighting formula. That's the PEA's resveratrol. And so if you like another supplement, if you like what else you do, but you're just not getting a good response for pain control, you could potentially try the Peora. And all of these are available in the IC Network shop. So ultimately, in the end, here's the reality. The reality is there's no way to predict what's going to work for you. The reality is every patient is a unique anatomical mystery to be solved. It's just a trial and error situation. And you just have to pick one and go for it. Generally, what I say to patients, when patients are asking which one they should try, I ask about their sensitivities. Are you somebody who can take anything and you don't have to worry about side effects? If you're one of those, and I say go for the gold and go for Bladder Builder, which I think is the best supplement. If, in contrast, you, like me, are super, super sensitive, I would say go with the cleanest formula, and that's going to be Bladder Rest and or maybe Peora. That's where I would start. If you have a sensitive stomach, then you're not going to be able to do the aloe. But in contrast, if you have a lot of urethral irritation, a lot of skin irritation, the aloe might be really, really, really good for you. You know, I just trial and error, my friends, trial and error. But at least we've got options, right? I mean, and that's cool. And ultimately, in the end, one of the reasons why I think something like Bladder Builder is so valuable is because, you know, the patients, I think, who are often, how do I want to say this? I worked with one last week. Some of you think that you have to take a vitamin to be healthy. And some of you think that if you go to the vitamin shop and you say you've got IC, they're just going to give you lots of stuff that's going to help you. And you could easily spend $200 in supplements that are completely unnecessary. And that is, in fact, what happened to a patient I worked with last week. And they gave her crazy stuff. And then she called to find out. I don't remember why she called, but I ended up asking her, "What are you taking?" And she explained she just bought $200 worth of stuff, and then they wanted to do this and that, and then they wanted to do toxic cleansing. And it's like, honey, anybody who tells you that you need to be cleansed is a charlatan. They don't understand what IC is, because IC for many cases is injury. And the last thing you do is put something harsh and cleansing on an injury and make it worse, right? So anyway, she read off the supplements she was doing, and every single one of them had ingredients that would have irritated her bladder, except for a calcium magnesium. And I told her to take all of them back. Invest your money in something where we know there's research supporting their use. And these products, there are research studies either with the product itself or with the ingredients in the product, which can be helpful. Catherine Kehoe has good news. Catherine, what is your good news? I want to hear it. Some good news. Dr. Peters treated my Hunter's lesion 16 months ago. I started cyclosporin after cauterization. After 1 year, we reduced the cyclosporin to 50 milligrams. I maintained an elimination diet. In 16 months, no pain, no frequency, no urgency. Yeah, baby. Woohoo! I love it. I love success stories. Your bladder capacity is increased. 10 days ago, Dr. Peters removed the inner stem that never did me much. Success. Oh, Catherine, girl, happy dance. Happy dance. Yeah. I love it. You guys, we have a support in our support forum, we have a success story board. Catherine, I would love to tell your story because we don't have enough good stories about cyclosporin. And if you would be willing, I would love to share your story in our winter magazine. So hold on, I got to write this down. Man. I'm going to call you, Catherine, and maybe we can share with others. Okay, success. Woohoo, baby. I love it. See, anybody who tells you that the IC is incurable, screw them. Because with subtyping, we now know that some of these subtypes are curable, especially pelvic floor. You know, remember, up till about 10 years ago, everybody believed that IC was an incurable bladder disease. But then we had our first research study that showed that pelvic floor muscle therapy could dramatically reduce symptoms. And when that study came out in 2008, it forced the IC world to step back and go, wait a second. How could muscle therapy help a bladder disease? Maybe that's because for some of you, if not the majority of you, there's a muscle component to it rather than a bladder component to it. And you're the ones who, when they look in your bladder looks pretty normal. My bladder looks normal. Jennifer says, let me just say, this helping so many people between the private IC groups on Facebook and you, Jill, I wouldn't have survived. Jill called me personally, talked to me for over an hour while I cried. Yep. Best part of my job, Jennifer. Best part of my job. I'm so glad I could help. I'm really glad. Hello, Sonia. Hello, Debbie. Okay, so here, hold on a sec. Kay says down on YouTube, okay, asked you, do I have the new multivitamin yet? No, I don't, but I should shortly. So I'm intending to discontinue Multiride, the low acid multivitamin that was actually my idea that Far Laboratories developed after talking with me. I'm going to bring on a new multivitamin produced by Natural Approach Nutrition instead. I think it's a cleaner formula, and we're taking out some of the minerals that some people couldn't tolerate. Kay says, Bladder Builder and Pure, I love them. Iris says, yes, Kay, I agree. Donna says, me too. I love them both. Peora is my favorite. Iris says, Peora is good. Kay says, Peora really helps for the pain. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And the cool thing about the Peora, guys, I mean, because what's the number one issue people have to deal with is pain, right? And what's incredibly cool is that the Peora is the cheapest supplement out there. It's just $29. So, and in this era where so many patients are being taken off of pain medicine and forced to suffer, if there's even a remote chance that a supplement might help you with some of that pain, I think it's really worth potentially trying. Debbie says, do high oxalate foods irritate the bladder? They can for some people, sure. The spinach, berries, chocolate, absolutely. Deborah says, inflammation, does heat help? You know, that's a good question. Heat helps muscle tension. Cold helps nerve inflammation or a neuroinflammatory process. So I don't know. I think you have to kind of go with what feels good for you. I'm not a cold girl. I'm a heat girl. So much so, I have been taking hot showers so long that I now have something called Grover's disease. I don't know if you can see all these red spots right here. And they're really bad. Oh, like, see all those spots right there? And that's from taking hot showers. And I did it for so long, so hot. I mean, I just loved hot showers that I actually damaged the cells. So, you know, I can't do hot showers anymore. And I can't do heating pads. I don't wear heating pads on my neck like I used to try to stop all that redness. So a little goes a long way. Moderation, my friends, moderation. Jean Evans says, I'm glad you brought up the infection debate in the United Kingdom. Some specialists believe 80% of patients, in fact, have an embedded infection, but you are also helpful in what you say. Yeah, I mean, my big issue is all for none statements. I mean, we just can't, we simply cannot say every IC patient has infection. Cannot do it. And in fact, using our subtypes, you know, using our 5 subtypes of Hunter's lesions, bladder wall, pelvic floor, pudendal neuralgia, central sensitization, chronic infection would fall under IC subtype 2, bladder wall driven, but we've got a lot of other things in IC subtype 2. We've got estrogen atrophy, and we've got chemical irritation, chemocystitis, radiation cystitis, teoprophenic acid cystitis, bladder perforation from stitches and from, you know, the urethral bulking agents. And yeah, is there a possibility that some people have a fungal infection? Absolutely, we know that. That's why next generation urine testing is so good, is it will tell you if you've got fungus in your bladder, if you have candida in your urine. And that was our own MAP research network funded by the National Institutes of Health, who about 5 years ago found that many patients having flares actually had fungal infections, candida infections in their bladder. And of course, typical urine tests cannot identify fungus. They don't test for it. You know, the only way to find fungus in your urine is to have a specific test that most health insurance companies won't pay for. That's why the next generation urine test is so good. And that's where, Gina, I got to say, that's where the whole antibiotic debate really shows danger. Because if we assume that every patient has chronic bacterial infection and we put them on antibiotics, what does that do? That kills the good bacteria which control fungi. And so that creates a foundation for a fungal infection. And if there's any group of patients overexposed to antibiotics, it's us. Because for almost all of us, we were told originally that we had bladder infections. And some of you have been on antibiotics for a decade. Off and on. And a lot of you self-medicate with antibiotics when you have flares. My mom just did. You know, and she's got IC and she had a vulvodynia flare. She took an antibiotic anyway. And it's like, she's 90. That's what she wants to do. And she felt better. Okay. But the point is what if that patient has a fungal infection instead of a bacterial infection and you start throwing antibiotics on it? You're just going to create a very, very severe fungal infection. So again, that next generation urine testing provides in my opinion, useful data. Not necessarily actionable data, but usable data. It will at least tell you if you've got antibiotic resistance genes. It will identify all the bacteria in your urine and potentially fungus in your urine too. If you don't know about next generation urine testing, I built a website on it last year, bladderhealth.org. Bladderhealth.org. Go on over to that website and check it out. I have a lot of videos of doctors using it now. The top doctors in the country are using it, as well as infectious disease specialists. But the local urologists, they're not using it. They don't know about it. They're very suspicious of it. And if it's not on a formulary for a HMO, the HMO is probably going to poo-poo it too. But to me, it's just useful data. It's data. It's non-emotional data. It will tell you yes or no if you've got infection. And that's an important piece of solving the puzzle of your IC and pelvic pain. Nanette says, went to the new doctor, got my trigger shots. Okay, hold on a sec. It was so different than Dr. Whitmore. The doctor went into the vagina with short needles into the pelvic floor, as opposed to longer needles going into my bottom. And the fingers of the doctor finding the muscle that were tight. So it left me so raw and a flare up from all the way it was done. But Nanette, that's so number one, you got to remember, girl, listen, your pelvic floor muscles go from left to right, front to back, low to high. If they're accessing muscles through your glute muscle, they're accessing posterior muscles. They're accessing muscles on the back side of your body. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to find muscles on the front or to the left or to the right. Every time I had nerve blocks, they were done through my vaginal wall. I've never had injections through my glutes down to my pelvic floor. And the fact that it left you raw and in a flare, actually, to me, this is going to sound crazy, is encouraging. And it's encouraging because, and I say this with patients who go to pelvic floor for the first time. When you go and have a pelvic floor assessment, they work from the outside in. So they're going to have you walk down the hallway to see if you're walking normally. They're going to study your glutes, your back, your belly, your core. They're looking for muscle tension patterns. They're looking for anything abnormal around your hips, your SI joint, anything at all like that. And then they're going to do an internal exam. And what they're going to do is gently insert a finger into your vagina or your rectum, and they're just going to touch muscles, shallow muscles, medium muscles, deep muscles. They're going to go from the left to the right, and they're just gently palpating to try to find any sore spots. And if they can touch a muscle and trigger pain, hallelujah, baby. Hallelujah. It means they found it. It means they found it. If they can touch a muscle and trigger your pain, that is spectacular news. And of course, we then want to know, all right, what were you touching and how are we going to fix this? So the fact that they did a vaginal examination and they gave you vaginal shots and they actually kind of triggered a flare, what that tells me is that they were working potentially in the right area. It tells me that whatever they were doing was provoking that muscle group. And so, you're going to have to go back to the doctor, explain the type of flare that you've had. And again, it's all about revisualizing the location of those muscles. But again, I'll tell you, all of my shots have been through my vaginal wall. They've never been from my butt or my glutes. Sherry says, I read that titanium dioxide does not actually pose a cancer risk in humans. Is this true? Sherry, it's all toxicity studies are done with animals. And so it was the animal studies showed that titanium dioxide was linked to a lung cancer. There's no such thing as a human study where they're going to expose people to potentially toxic levels of medications and chemicals. It's not done. And that's why I gave up my working in my degree, because the animal studies were gruesome. They're called lethal dose studies, toxicity studies, where they they just keep, they take whatever animal they're working with, whether it be a mouse or a rat or a cat or a dog, and sadly a lot of them are dogs. And I love animals and I refuse to do anything like that. But what they do in these studies is they just add more and more and more and more until the animal dies. And then they get that quote unquote lethal dose. And then they back off and they look at the 50% dose. And it's really disgraceful. And in a way, you're making a good point, because is that an accurate representation of human anatomy and how a human would react to it? Absolutely not. And that is why I donate every year to the National Anti-Vivisection Society. That is why I gave up my career completely. I don't know if you guys, I've told this story, so my pharmacology degree involved a year surgical internship. I was pretty successful at it. Was really successful in labs, got A's in labs. My lectures, not so much. I was a BC student in some of my lectures. But because of my lab experience, I'm a very hands-on person. I got some of the top job interviews out of school. And so I interviewed at Allergan, and that was cardiac medications on monkeys. And never even saw a monkey. The guy was a jerk, and I walked out. He was a jerk. Allergan. Let's see, who did I go to? I went to not Bioniche. Barnes Hines for eye medicine. I went to Stanford to do alcohol. That's the one I really wanted. That was with a Nobel Prize winner. I didn't get that job. But the interview after that was the one that I just walked away. And that was with Syntex, the company that invented the birth control pill. So I go in for my interview. Come on, guys, I'm 21 years old. And I'm an animal lover. And school doesn't teach you. They don't train you for industry. Got my interview. It's a fantastic interview. Did a little surgical dexterity test, made some sutures, stuff like that. Piece of cake. I'm thrilled. It's going really well. He goes, "Hey, man, let me take you back down to the lab and let's have you meet the team." And I'm like, "Great." So we're walking down the hallway and I go, "Hey, I'd love to see your vivarium." And a vivarium is where you raise animals ethically for research. And he said, "Well, we don't have one." Now, you guys, you got to understand, I've never had to kill an animal in any of my work, ever, nor would I, period. End of story. Would never do it. And so I was being bold, it's like, yeah, okay, let's see what you got, knowing that I've got this ethical debate going on in my head. He goes, "Well, we don't have one." And I go, "Well, do you use such and such," which is a firm in Northern California known for being very ethical. And he goes, "No." And he grabbed my arm, he stopped me in the hallway, and he looks at me, he goes, how do you feel about killing a dog that licks you in the face?" And I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you need to know that we get our animals from the pound. These are lost pets that we've just caught, and within 30 minutes they're in our lab. We make no attempt to find the owners." And I shook his hand and I walked out. I'm still outraged by it. And that's why even today, you never, ever, ever give a pet away for free on Craigslist. Because there are people out there taking pets and selling them for research. Happens every day. It is a disgusting and disgraceful practice. And that is the God's honest truth. How do you feel about killing a dog that licks you in the face? We make no attempt to find the owners of those pets. Well, screw that. So I walked away. Done. Over. Went to work for the feds. Went back to grad school. It's chilling. And the hardest part about being on the IC network, and like I was on the U.S. Army research panel for almost a decade, is I had to read all these animal studies, and you don't want to know what they do to animals in IC research, and I disagree with it. I disagree with going and deliberately burning a bladder of an animal to study IC. Oh man, do not get me. I'm on a. Okay, I apologize. I'm on a little bit of a rant here, but this is my heart and soul. The things we do in the name of humanity to animals are disgraceful in medicine, and it's got to stop. So when you buy your products, you always want to make sure it says no animal testing, especially cosmetics and eye drops and things like that. Man, you got to be careful here that you're not supporting this industry. And just when we're making great strides and they're getting rid of, um, live animals and universities and stuff like that, one of the laws changed, and now they want toxicity testing done again on animals, and it's wrong. It's wrong. So if you can, what I donate every year to is I donate to the National Association, NAVS, National Anti-Vivisection Society, which is the #1 society out there lobbying to stop animal research. And I also donate to what's her name? Red Rover. I love that group for animal cares. And I know some people are like, well, if it'll cure IC, why not do it? And it's like, I refuse to impose suffering on another animal. I just can't do it because there's no direct link between IC and a chemical burn in a dog's bladder and a hunter's lesion, especially now that hunter's lesions have been linked to viruses, right? So all pointless research that's harmed so many people. I mean, so many animals. So anyway, that's me. That's the real me. I'm not going to hide it. Brenda says, I tried the PR and it was amazing. Now trying the Bladder Builder, it's not working for me as well. Any thoughts on why one worked and the other didn't? Yeah, probably the resveratrol. Peora contains resveratrol, which is from red grape skins. And so you're clearly reacting to the Peora resveratrol combination. So just go back to that. Renee says, where can we get Bladder Buster from? I haven't talked about Bladder Buster. Bladder Builder is from our website. Just go over to IC Network, icnetwork.org, click on store, and you can see all those supplements. Bladder Rest we're sold out of right now, but we're expecting almost 1,000 bottles on Tuesday or Wednesday, so we will have it back then. Kristen says, can you take both Bladder Builder and Pure at the same time? You can, again, I come from a less is more perspective. And if you take both at the same time, you won't know which one's working for you. So I would pick one first and do one for a few weeks before you add the other. And like, so for example, Kristen, if you're an estrogen atrophy patient and you've got, a bladder wall that is more vulnerable because you're older, then doing something that has a bladder coating in it kind of makes sense. So in that context, I think I would start with the Bladder Builder first. But if you're younger and you're still having your periods and pain is your dominant issue, I would try the Peora first. Sherry says, I wonder how much PEA each have them in them. Those are industry secrets. And so they really aren't disclosing that. I can tell you that they're equivalent, very close to what's used in the studies. Yeah, and I don't know why some patients flare with probiotics. I never flared with probiotics. The only logical explanation for that would be that that your biome is part of the problem, and whatever's in the probiotic is contributing to that biome dysfunction. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. John Lee says lidocaine compounded with aloe topically was very soothing to me. Yeah. Hey, I just had a family member come out with shingles. She's got shingles now. And she's using Relivium, which is Desert Harvest aloe with lidocaine on her shingles, and it's really helping her. Christine Geiger says cyclosporin made my blood pressure go up and my heart rate increase. I also had periphery sweating. Yeah, Christine, that's the issue with cyclosporin. That's why cyclosporin is step 5 treatment option in the 6 steps of treatment. Remember, the American Urology Association has 6 steps of treatment. You start at step 1, you do everything in step 1 before you go to step 2, do everything in step 2 before you go to step 3, and so forth. And those steps are arranged with respect to the risk of adverse event. And so cyclosporin is step 5 because it has the potential for some pretty significant side effects, most specifically a dramatic increase in blood pressure. And so that's why some doctors, and urologists specifically, won't treat it, or they won't prescribe it. They will send you to another doctor who can monitor that carefully. Aaron, yeah, Aaron, I did get your address. We had another power outage, and so I couldn't send it out. I'm going to have her try to send it out tomorrow, okay? I haven't sent out I've got all 3 of you. I've got your addresses. We just haven't had a chance. Power went out. The power went out again last night. Would you believe it? It's crazy. Lauren says, I had that same heat rash when I used to live with a heating pad for endo. Doctor said no more because the rash was there 24/7 and spreading. So I use them every once in a while. But when it's really desperate, yeah, my rash is from heat is basically from my shoulders down here and the same on the backside, because I would sit in the shower and I would just let it hit my neck because I was treating neck tension. And then it's also the other place that it's really weird, is it's on my shins. I don't know. See the red spots right there? That's heat. That's this Grover's disease heat thing that apparently mostly just men get, but oh no. Jill Osborne can get it too, apparently, according to the biopsy. Vicky says, how long since chemo can IC begin? IC can, well, let's clarify your language here. Chemotherapy can irritate the bladder during chemo and after chemo, and it can happen. I just wrote an article about it. Hold on. Let me get that article out. The feature story in our fall magazine, which was released this week. If you're a member of the IC network, your fall IC Optimist is now available for download on your member page. We will be getting it from the printer tomorrow. It would be mailed out this week to people who are getting it by mail from us. Finally, a month late, longer, 6 weeks late because of the damn power outages. You can't do much when you have no electricity and no internet. It makes it real difficult to do magazines. All right, so here it is. Hold on a sec. I got the article right here. And so I'll be able to demo it next Sunday when I've got it in my hands. All right, radiation cystitis. No, chemocystitis. Some chemotherapeutic medications can trigger bladder wall irritation and IC symptoms, particularly the oral medications cyclophosphamide, Bolsafan, and ifosfamide. Some bladder therapies for bladder cancer can also trigger more intense bladder irritation, including mitomycin C, thiotepa, doxorubicin, and BCG. Chemo-induced cystitis can occur during treatment, following treatment, and in some cases, months after therapy has stopped. Guys, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you've got to go through chemo for breast cancer or the like, there is a medication called Mesnex that you can take that will deactivate the irritating metabolite that causes all the bladder irritation, Mesnex. And generally what they say to IC patients who have to go through chemo for something else is doing something that will provide a bladder coating effect like the Elmeron, like a Bladder Builder, or Desert Harvest Aloe, or whatever, something that will provide a little bit of extra protection for the bladder wall is usually suggested. I've asked many of the top doctors about this over the years, over the last 25 years, and every single time the answer is doing a little bit of an extra bladder coating in there might create an extra barrier so that the irritating ingredient from the chemo does not cause quite as much irritation. John Lee says, who can afford tests not covered by insurance? Dude, you got a point. You got a point. I mean, and yet the insurance company, the tragedy with the insurance companies is we all have to understand too that I mean, I don't think medical care should be a for-profit business. I don't think insurance companies should be paying off shareholders at the price of not covering life-saving tests for people. It's sad. It's kind of sad what happens. But it's true. You know, sometimes you have to pay out of pocket if you can, and if you can't, also know too. You know, I mean, a tip for the wise. And an IC patient taught me this years ago. Um, Never, ever, ever, ever doubt asking the question: Is there something that can help me pay for this? Because a lot of companies have philanthropic programs. I personally have been able to get next generation testing done for free for a couple of patients who were in a very dire situation. And so you can always ask a company if they would, if there's a compassionate relief program. Um, and the same is true with pharmaceutical companies. Also understand too that hospitals, if, for example, you need to have a procedure done and the hospital wants you to pay an OR fee or something like that, some hospitals actually have compassionate programs where they will do it for free. Some surgeons will do it for free. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Ask questions. Call the hospital billing office and say, hey, is there any nonprofit? Is there any philanthropic group? Is there anything that I can apply for that would help me pay for this? You know, ahead of time. And you'd be amazed. There really are a lot of local hospitals have medical foundations where they can step in and help pay for procedures and things like that. Brenda, that's amazing. Brenda writes, my doctors have me on many medications, gabapentin, baclofen, hydroxyzine, and Norco. I know that it's quite a cocktail, but the Pure has done more than all those combined for my pelvic pain. Isn't that amazing? And that's what the research study said, that IC patients responded beautifully to this PEA resveratrol combination. So you're on the gabapentin for the nerve pain, the baclofen is a muscle relaxant, the hydroxyzine is an antihistamine, and Norco for traditional opiate pain care. So hopefully you'll be able to reduce the Norco and some of the other things, maybe. It'd be interesting. Vicky says, does a urogynecologist do the muscle evaluation? The urologist, the urogynecologist, the gynecologist will do a preliminary examination, and then they will send you to a pelvic floor specialist who will do a much more detailed, comprehensive examination. Hey guys, hold on. I gotta go get a vest on. It's cold. I'll be right back. Pee break. Anybody need to pee? Go now. All righty. Hold on a sec. It's fall. Okay, that'll help. Alrighty then. Jennifer just wrote something very interesting. She says, after her IC started, I became two people, myself now and the person from before. The silver lining is that I appreciate so much more and ignore the petty stuff that used to bother me. Sure gives you context, right? You know, when I always say that when when you face a health struggle, whether it's pain or your heart or something where you face mortality or you face suffering, it changes everything, because at that point in time you realize that the type of car you're driving doesn't matter. The clothes you're wearing, it doesn't matter. What matters is having people who love you and who will help you and being able to care. And so all the little things that we all used to think about and worry about, yeah, it's like, who the hell cares? I'm really funny with clothes. I have really, really sensitive skin, and so I really at this point in time can only wear cotton and rayon. It's ridiculous, but I also refuse to spend a lot of money on clothes unless it's something that I know I'm going to wear and wear and wear and wear, like my shoes, Hokas, because I have neuromas in my feet. So, you just start making decisions. You're not going to wear the 6-inch heels or the 4-inch heels anymore. You get to a certain point, you're going to wear tennis shoes all day like I do. Aaron says, I just feel like I'm in this place where I'm stuck between my old life and my current and forever situation, which is extremely exhausting. Well, Aaron, every day is a new day. Every day is new possibilities. Every day is new opportunities. And that isn't that life anyway? That, that we cannot sit there and think about the past, because the past is over. It's done. It is unchangeable. You have no power over changing the past. It is over. The power you have right now is today. What can you do today to put your heart, your spirit, and your body in a better place? And so that's where you need to spend your emotional energy. Remember, I was talking about that early, that every day we have a fairly limited supply of emotional energy. And if we exhaust that energy thinking about the wrongs that were done to us, or the the worries and the fears and are getting involved in other people's drama that is not our own drama, we are going to exhaust our reserves. That little bit of emotional energy you have needs to be dedicated to you, and you need to think about it at this moment. What can I do today that will put me in a better place tomorrow? And I know that I'm making, and it's not as, and that's kind of one of the gifts that we were just talking about, is when you face something like this, you learn context. That a lot of the stuff that we used to occupy our time with is just a complete waste of time. We don't need to worry about certain things. There are things we just don't need in the context of being happy and healthy. But there are other things that we do need, like the people around us, for sure, 100%. Lauren says, how are dogs at all like humans in their reactions to med? They're not. That's the point. It's just about this foolish baseline toxicity levels that they use, and it's just disgraceful. Michelle says, help, I had 6 DMSO installations in 6 weeks and had 2 great pain-free weeks. Then pain started again. Now back at the urologist for more DMSO installations. Now what? Should I try taking an antihistamine daily? Any concerns with me starting to take a fish oil pill for depression? Well, hun, you know, remember, bladder installations are step 2 therapies. And so the first thing I want to know, Michelle, is have you done everything in step 1? Because if you don't have that basic core foundation of self-help, the other therapies are not going to work well. And so let's do that. Let's go over the 6 steps of treatment according to the American Urology Association. So hold on a sec. Let's do that. Here they are. All right, so let me give you some context here. Okay, so let me give you some context here. 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, not so long ago. If you were to ask IC patients how they were treated around the United States and around the world, it's incredibly diverse, incredibly diverse. Some doctors only did surgery, other doctors only did medication. You know, some doctors believed in DMSO, others believed in something else. There was no consistency. And so what happened is the American Urology Association convened a committee of 30 to 35 IC experts, as well as some patient advocates. I was not part of that. The ICA did that one. And they created a consensus-based guideline for the treatment of IC. And it was released in 2011. So it's the American Urology Association, released in 2011, revised in 2014. You can go read these guidelines for yourself here, auanet.org. Please go there, auanet.org. Upper right-hand corner is a link that says guidelines. Go to the guideline page, search for interstitial cystitis. Print out 3 copies, one for you, one for your urologist, and one to carry with you if you ever have to go to the emergency room. Because if you walk in with the IC guidelines from the AUA, nobody can mess with you and say this is not a real disease. Because here are the guidelines from the top urology association in the world. Okay, so 6 steps of therapy arranged with respect to the risk of adverse events. So what's in step 1? Step 1 is water intake. Because if you're routinely dehydrated, your urine is concentrated and irritating. And I know it's only logical to reduce your water intake when you're peeing a lot, but that is counterintuitive. Because when you stop drinking your water, what happens is your urine gets much more irritating. Much more irritating. If your urine is dark yellow or brown, you are dehydrated, my friend, and that urine is frying your bladder wall. Your urine is supposed to be a pale, clear yellow. If your urine is clear with no yellow at all, you are drinking too much water and potentially messing with your electrolytes. So your goal is pale, clear yellow. And however much water that takes, you know, 6 to 8 glasses of water. There's a lot of debate about what's right. I probably drink 6 glasses of water a day myself. I've only done 2 today so far, and it's 3 o'clock. Holy hell. All right. What's the next thing in step 1? Diet modification. If you're continuing to drink coffee or green tea or black tea, no therapy is going to help, because what you're doing is you're bathing your bladder in acid, and there's no therapy that can counteract the damage done by that acid every day. Okay, and I've explained this before. The bladder is the slowest healing organ in the body. It takes 2 weeks for one urothelial cell to be repaired. So I want you to imagine an extra large pizza, and then I want you to imagine a little tiny pea underneath that pizza. So that extra large pizza is the urothelial cell. It looks like a hexagon. When that cell is destroyed, that little tiny pea takes 2 weeks to grow and adapt and change shape and size until it fills in the giant hole left by the urothelial cell. But here's the issue. while that stem cell is growing and trying to repair that wound, it is exquisitely vulnerable to acid. And it was Dr. Anthony Schaefer who explained this in a lecture at an IC National Institutes of Health conference years ago, that it will destroy that next generation of cells. So the patients who suffer the worst by far, and this is very true in my experience as a support group leader, are the patients who have 1 cup of coffee or 1 soda a day. Because what they don't understand is that they just keep destroying the cells that are trying to repair their bladder. You've got to be on the IC diet. If you got IC subtype 1, IC subtype 2, you've got to be on the diet for like 3 months minimum to give your bladder an opportunity to try to repair those tissues. But if you're still drinking a coffee or soda a day, it's simply impossible for your bladder to repair itself. And it is impossible for these therapies to help you to any great lengths, because they cannot counteract the damage done by that acid load, okay? Number 3, supplements. The American Urology Association, they want you to try supplements first because they don't carry the same risk of adverse events. Now, they don't mention brand names, although they mention ingredients, but we're talking about the pre-leaves, the Sisto Protec, all these. Those would fall into step 1. Number 4, they want you to do muscle relaxation. Why? Because we know when your muscles are tense, it's going to restrict blood flow to your bladder, and then your bladder is going to have some issues, right? And then number 5, maybe acupuncture. Acupuncture does work for some people. Okay? That's step 1. Step 2 is going to be physical therapy, oral medications, bladder installations like DMSO, and pain care. But here's the issue. Since 2014, when these guidelines were released, we have now learned pretty bad things about these oral medications like Elmeron. So I sent a letter earlier this year to Dr. Phil Hanna, the chairman of the AUA-IC committee, and asked if they were going to move the oral medications into step 3 or step 4 because of these permanent side effects. And I didn't get a really clear answer back, but it is, in my opinion, the Elmeron and Ditropan and Detrol and Elavil should be moved to step 4. Okay, but based upon what we know now about their side effects. Okay. Bladder installations, really the only bladder installations that are done routinely now are heparin lidocaine installations or Elmeron lidocaine installations. Michelle, DMSO installations have fallen out of favor pretty dramatically over the years. I myself had 6 DMSO treatments. Didn't work for me. I'm glad it worked for you. Generally, they recommend 2 courses of treatment, that if you do well in the first course, they would then recommend a second course, but usually after the second course, you move on to other things. Okay. Step 3 is going to be low pressure hydrodistension and or treatment for Hunner's lesions, although anytime they find Hunner's lesions, they should treat them at that time. Hunner's lesion therapies include fulguration laser therapy, steroid injection, or Lyris, although Lyris is not available right now. The first treatment to heal Hunner's lesions has been shelved. Very sad. Step 4, neuromodulation, which is urgent PC or InterStim or Botox. Step 5, cyclosporin. And step 6 is surgical procedures. Okay. Treatments no longer recommended by the American Urology Association for the treatment of interstitial cystitis include, number 1, long-term antibiotics. Number 2, BCG and racinoferritoxin, RTX. Number 3, silver nitrate, chlorpactin, high-pressure hydrodistension, and long-term steroids. All right, so getting back to your question then about you've done DMSO, 1 course of DMSO, you're thinking about going back and doing the second course. DMSO is considered fairly safe. However, it's just fallen out of favor in lieu of the heparin instill. The heparin lidocaine instill, it's called a rescue for a reason. It can rescue you out of a flare. The lidocaine turns nerves off. And the theory here is that If somebody has a lot of nerve inflammation, getting nerves to calm down is difficult. So what that does is it physically turns the nerves off. And the theory here is the more you do it, the more likelihood that the nerves will stay turned off. That's a very simplistic explanation for that. Deborah says, do we have the Peora? Yes, we have Peora in stock in our store right now. Lisa says, thank you so much. I'm recently diagnosed, was told there's very little I could do to help it. Well, that's baloney. There's a lot you can do to help it, hon. And Lisa, you know, we do offer coaching. I mean, we have a free patient support line. You're welcome to call an 800 phone line you can get on our website. I answer that phone. But for patients who want to spend a little bit more time, you can sign up for coaching also. The free line is first come, first serve. Coaching patients also always get priority because they're paying for it. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Susan. Vicky says, it's been 5 years between the chemo and the IC beginning. So, Vicky, the other thing you got to consider is just aging, hun. Aging. How old are you now? Could you now have some estrogen-induced atrophy in your bladder, also known as genitourinary syndrome of menopause? That could also explain why your bladder might be more vulnerable now. Lynn says, anybody else have major hair loss after being diagnosed? Not usually unless you're taking Elmeron. Elmeron is really notorious for causing hair loss. I will tell you, I go through periods where I do lose a lot of hair, it's like I shed massive amounts of hair. It's crazy. Also, Lynn, I want to tell you that I know for me, I mean, you can see I have a ton of hair, and it's really, really thick. And yet my whole shower can be filled up with hair sometimes. Anytime I start losing a lot of hair, I always go back to my thyroid. If my thyroid has any dramatic change, my hair starts falling out like mad. And so I would talk to your doctor and see see if you have any other potential signs of thyroid stuff going on. I mean, it's a possibility. Talk to your doctor and let them know, but also talk to your hairstylist. Maybe your hairstylist can look at it and see if there's anything weird going on. All I know for me is that as soon as my hair starts falling out in great quantity, it's always my thyroid. Hello, Bernadine. You guys, obviously, I'm probably 5 minutes behind in the timeline on Facebook. Lynn says, your pain has been off the charts since 2009. You're allergic to most. Wonder if hair loss is from stress. Hair loss can happen from stress. It can happen from anesthesia. If you've recently been anesthetized, very normal for somebody after surgery to start experiencing some hair loss 2 to 3 months after surgery because they think that some forms of anesthesia damage the hair follicle. And so as that grows out and the damaged part grows out, it will break off. Look at this, guys. You see that red spot? That was from me falling like 10 years ago. And it just created this weird, it's weird. Lynn, I would really, man, if you ever want to talk about, if you're saying that your IC pain has been off the charts since 2009, I'd really love to talk with you. I will tell you 9 times out of 10, whenever we see a situation like that, it's because a patient has Hunner's lesions that have never been treated correctly. Penny says it was her thyroid too when she lost hair. Aaron says, when are we going to start an IC line of clothing that doesn't irritate the bladder? You know what, hun? We actually worked with a company like 15 years ago that went out of business, and I still have some of their clothes. It was what was it called? Spiritual Fitness, I think was the name of the company. And they made the best, softest leggings and yoga pants and shirts. And we sold them for a couple of years to the IC network. But then, they went out of business. I will tell you that the latest thing that I got that I can wear easy peasy and they're all on sale right now. 11 by Venus Williams is a tennis clothing line. And they have rayon yoga pants and workout pants and hoodies. And they're like anywhere from $25 to $40. So search for 11 by Venus Williams and then go onto their website, go to their sale area and search for French terry. And it's a French terry made with rayon, and it is to die for good. I just bought my sister a bunch of their clothes too, because we have such sensitive skin. It's ridiculous. Hi, Carolyn on YouTube. Nice to see you, hun. Hi, Marge. Nanette says, I have a neuroma in my left foot. It feels like you're walking on a golf ball. I wear Hoka sneakers to help. I'm a hairdresser. Hey, yeah, babe, another Hoka fan. I just bought the Bondies, the Bondi 6s. I tried to, I was wearing the Arahis, the Arahi 6. And then I was missing Birkenstocks. I used to love wearing Birkenstocks. I can't wear them now with neuromas. And so I tried just for a couple of hours a pair from SAS. And oh my God, I hurt myself so bad. I took those back and then I went and got the Bondies, and that's what I'm wearing. Worth every penny. I wear them out. Aaron says, so even if we can handle sauce and tomatoes, we shouldn't eat it? I don't think so, hun. I think this is about creating an environment to support healing. Girl, you're in a lot of pain. And you're in a lot of bladder pain. You should not be eating any tomatoes right now, period. This is about, that's why I think it's really important to think of IC as injury rather than illness. When you think of IC as bladder wall-driven IC as an illness, in your brain, you're going, I'm not going to let this illness rob me of something that I love. And then it's very easy to justify cheating on the IC diet. Whereas if you think about this more as an injury, it's like, okay, I got a wound on my bladder. If I had a wound on my hand, am I going to pour tomato sauce on it or alcohol on it or lemon juice on it? The answer is no, I'm not. Given your level of pain and discomfort, hun, I would let the tomatoes go, or at least, my dad's going through this right now. He can't do any tomato sauce right now. It just, he pees all night if he does. So I'll do butternut squash stop, but really what I do is butter and Parmesan cheese on pasta for him now, and it's fine. Brenda says, pretty much gave up coffee. You got to try the herbal stuff. Remember, I did the demo for this. Where is it? Okay. So remember, there are low acid coffees. There are low acid decaf coffees. And so, those are options. But let me give you the test. So we call it the coffee test. When can you start drinking coffee again? And so you can find this on our website. Whoops. Whoops. All right. So if you're in an active flare and you're in a lot of pain, the only thing we want you drinking is water or milk or chamomile herbal tea or peppermint herbal tea. Okay? Because that's what you would pour on a wound on your hand. If you do okay with that, your next step is to try a brown rooibos tea. And brown rooibos teas they're just like a brown herb. It makes a brown tea. It's very rich. It's like a super, super light coffee, but without any of the irritants of coffee. So you can try a rooibos tea. Be careful with the spices. I just bought a rooibos chai tea that I thought would be okay, and it's actually really clovey, and it tasted very hot to me, so I'm probably not going to do that. Okay, so if you do okay with the rooibos tea, the next thing you want to try is an herbal coffee, and let's see, where is it? Here, hold on. I've got one in my kitchen. Hold on. Just doing demos. Are you feeling okay? Okay. Have you had any water? Okay. All right. So herbal coffees, probably the best herbal coffee brand is Cafe Roma. And it is made from malted barley with chicory and rye. And I think it smells pretty good. I mean, like in a pinch, I could do it with water and, with a little bit of sugar and mocha mix. Hold on. How do you put this back on? All right. Cafe Roma. Another one you could try, which actually gets incredibly good reviews, is Dandy Blend. And we don't sell this. They don't pay me to say that. None of these companies pay me, guys. So this is just kind of from experience. So Dandy Blend, it has no acidity and no bitterness. And I've done some taste tests with it. It comes in these little tubes, and you just pour it into a hot cup of water. It's caffeine-free, no acidity, no bitterness, and it's pretty good. So this would be your next step. You're going to try this, okay? If you do okay with the herbal coffees, the next thing you're going to try is a low-acid coffee like Tyler's Coffee, the world's best acid-free coffee. I think that's their marketing. I don't know if I would say the world's best, but they're up there. Simpatico low acid coffee. And my personal favorite, I think the best low acid coffee on the market actually is Bella Rosa low acid coffee. So and of course, please, for God's sake, go decaf. Because what does caffeine do? Caffeine triggers nerves. And when you trigger nerves, what happens? Why do people drink coffee? Number one, it energizes you. But you probably notice that it also will trigger a bowel movement, which is why some people have it in the morning, and it will make them pee all day. So kind of the last thing you want to do when you've got, a sensitive bladder and or IC subtype 5 central sensitization is do something that's just going to hit your nerves like a jackhammer. So you will definitely want to let the caffeine go if you can. Bella Rosa does a decaf, they do a half calf, and they do a full calf. So we want you to do the decaf first, see how you do. If you do okay with the decaf, you can try the half calf. Whoops. See how you do. If you do okay, you could potentially try the full calf, but I think that's pushing it a little bit. All right. So you can buy all of those with the exception of the Dandy Blend over on our website, and that would be great because that helps make these support group meetings happen. Deborah says, I've had so many of my friends and family come on and watch. You know what? I really want to do another national conference. We need to do another national IC conference and then simulcast it, right? Simulcast it over the internet for people in other parts of the country. I keep, for the last 10 years, I'm like, oh God, we need to do it. We need to do it. It's just so much work. And the reality is it's so wonderful to meet other people. And I would love to meet you guys in person. I would just love it. I'd probably be in a flare from the stress of speaking to 1,000 people, but that's okay. So like if we were to try to do a conference, I was saying the last time we talked about it, that a conference should be done in Denver, right in the middle of the country, so that it would be easy for anybody. I mean, Denver is a big airport hub. So it would only be a 2-hour flight from the West Coast. It would only be a 2.5-hour flight from the East Coast and from Texas. Doing a conference in Denver to me is a best case scenario. I just don't know anybody in Denver to organize it. And I would hate to get there and have an altitude problem and not be able to speak. I've only been to Denver once. So if we do a conference, the odds are we're going to do it in California. But I would tell you, I would absolutely try to simulcast it online. I don't know. Got to have a company sponsor it. Probably costs $80,000, $100,000 to do. So I know I can't afford that. But if we can get a company to step forward, that would be kind of cool. I'm trying to follow. I'm trying to follow some of these discussions here. Let's see. John, I don't know what you say about your pelvic floor specialist thinks that's too strong, hard on sensitive tissues. You must be talking about a prescription for lidocaine. Becca says, when my flare was bad, I drank about 10 cups of marshmallow root tea. It worked so much better than Elmer Installations, but pelvic pain doesn't get relief for me at all. Well, so the marshmallow root tea would potentially help with bladder wall pain, but it certainly isn't going to do anything for pelvic floor pain. Marshmallow root tea is it kind of came through the IC world 20 years ago as a bit of a fad. Everybody said do marshmallow root tea, but the reality is that some people are flare to marshmallow root tea. So you got to try a small amount and see how you do first. Brenda says, Jill, can you talk a little about why sugar is so bad? I have a mad sweet tooth. So number one, remember, Brenda, that a lot of the medications that we use for IC, like Elavil, is known for triggering sugar cravings and carb cravings. And the IC diet also tends to be a little bit biased towards carbs and sugars anyway. And the reality of that is weight gain, right? But there's an interesting fact about sugar and insulin levels. So I don't know about anybody else, but I have not been able to eat a boxed cereal in 25 years, maybe 30 years. Whenever I tried to eat Raisin Bran or Cheerios, I would get very bloated, very gassy. I would have like a little wave of vertigo, and then I would be sick all day. And what we now know is that the worst way to start the day is with something that's high in sugar. Why? Because what happens is when you eat the sugar, your insulin levels rise to deal with the sugar. And then because your insulin levels rise, you are unable your body is physically unable to process fat and break down fat. So the only source for additional energy is more sugar. And so what happens is when you start eating a lot of sugar, you just crave it more and more and more and more. And we all see it. If you have that sweet thing after dinner, the odds are an hour later, you're going to want another sweet thing. And that is the sugar, insulin levels, and your body going, hey, I need energy, but I can't use my fat. I guess I better tell this person to eat more sugar because that's going to give me quick energy. Sugar also is pretty well known to play a role in inflammation. All right. Y'all are emailing me too. Wait. What? Wait. What is this? Hold on a sec. Marketing. Oh, that was a bait and switch about pelvic pain. Yeah, all right. Not going to do that. Not even going to mention it. Anybody have problems with fish oil pills when in an IC flare? Michelle, usually not, unless the fish oil pills have lemon in it or orange in it, something citrusy to counteract the fishy taste. So if you're doing fish oil, try to get one with blueberry. Those tend to be better. Thank you, Nanette. Corey says, going out to eat with friends is a drag. I agree. I mean, for me, it started to be a drag when I got IBS, and I would just have to run to the bathroom afterwards. But information is power. When you learn the foods that trigger you, you're going to be able to make better decisions about what you can eat or not at restaurants. I mean, I generally have like 4 or 5 restaurants in my town that I trust and I know I can go eat at and not have a problem. It's going to new places that freaks me out. I do not like going to new restaurants because it's like I never know what the hell they're going to put in their sauce. And God forbid there be MSG in it. I'm going to be in the bathroom all night. So that I agree with you, hon. That's the I had IBS when I was like 23, 24 when it happened. And I became somebody who did not enjoy food as much. I can eat the same food every day and be perfectly happy. I can wear the same shoes every day. I can wear the same clothes every day. I'm a very habitual person. And so you give me sauteed vegetables with a little bit of chicken and rice every day or avocado toast. I can eat that every day. And that sucks because so much of our social life is about being with our friends. All I can say is, you've got pre-leaf. You can take pre-leaf before you go to a meal or take it there. You've got your food list. You can ask lots of questions. If it's a steak with a rub on it, ask them to get rid of the rub and just have the steak. And that shouldn't irritate you. You can talk to the chef and ask them, or the waiter or waitress, and ask them if they will give you something special. It's amazing. They usually like happy customers. Today, okay, so Corey said, can you give any tips on going to eat? Today's friends chose French food and it was no fun. Corey, what was it that wasn't fun? Because, I mean, like chicken cordon bleu would have been perfect for you. A filet of sole, almondine would have worked quite well for you. Was there something in there that... Melanie says, having trouble finding a vitamin D supplement that does not affect my bladder. All the supplements seem to make me with crazy urgency. All right. So Melanie, whenever you have an issue like that, it's very important that you back off of all of your supplements. Just stop them all for a couple of days. Let's see if you can get rid of the urgency. and then introduce one at a time, because clearly you're taking something that's triggering you, and now we've got to figure out what it is. That's one of the reasons why I kind of come from a less is more perspective. I don't like taking stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. I think it's important to one at a time, and be slow and consistent so you can really try to figure stuff out. Corey says, "Are we getting enough vitamin C on the IC diet?" Well, I mean, if you're eating broccoli, if you're eating green peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers, you can Google vitamin C rich foods, and many of them are IC friendly. It's just taking the supplement that's the problem. Brenda says, "Oh man, can't eat spaghetti, pizza, lasagna." Oh, bologna, Brenda. Of course you can. You don't have to have a tomato sauce to have spaghetti. You can have a pesto sauce. You can have a carbonara sauce. You can have a clam sauce. You can have Parmesan on spaghetti, on lasagna. You can make a pesto lasagna. You can do creamy mushroom sauce. And with pizza, a lot of places now do white sauces for pizza. You can certainly enjoy pizza. You can eat a lot. You guys, seriously, you can eat a lot. The IC diet, the vegetable, okay, so here's the thing with the IC diet, with Thanksgiving, and this is how I started this presentation, talking about Thanksgiving. Perfect holiday for an ICer is Thanksgiving. Turkey, chicken, mashed potatoes, carrots, squash, stuffing, they're all very IC friendly, depending upon what you put in there. I mean, if you're going to cook the turkey with lemons inside it, maybe I would say not to do that. You can do yams, you can do sweet potatoes, you can do pumpkin pie. All of those should be perfectly IC friendly. The only thing on Thanksgiving for a traditional Thanksgiving meal that's not going to be IC friendly is going to be cranberry sauce. Brenda says, "Got to have dark, yummy roast or none at all." All the low acid coffees are dark roast, because the darker the roast, the lower the acid. So they're very dark roast. So Lynn is still talking about hair loss. She said they've ruled everything out. You're not taking the Elmeron. The thyroid is fine. Your hairdresser can't figure it out. They had you accept your hysterectomy, total hysterectomy. Girl. I had a total hysterectomy 2.5 years ago. Massive hair loss. Your body has to get used to the loss of estrogen. I bet you that's it. But I mean, see, look, it's coming back. So if it's going to come back for me, it should come back for you. But that hysterectomy, a total hysterectomy, and being forced off of all estrogen is very brutal on the system. Becca says, "What about yerba mate?" I don't know anything about yerba mate. Anybody have any experience drinking yerba mate with IC? Are any of these coffees instant? There's one other coffee, low acid coffee, that is instant, and it's called, oh my God, what's it called? It's one of the old brands, like Pure. It's an old instant. Oh, it'll come to me. There's one old, like from the 50s, instant coffee that's lower acid. But the Caffrey Roma is instant, and the Dandy Blend is instant. Brenda says, "I love pre-leaf, but haven't taken and tried it with those yummy foods yet." Lisa says, "I am in Michigan with too many responsibilities to leave. I'll be watching online." See you, Lisa. Hi, Gina. Oh, I understand, Corey. Corey was the restaurant would not allow her to order a la carte. Well, again, that's when pre-leaf comes in real handy. Corey says the icy diet triggered GERD, so now you're leaving out sweet peppers. So, so I'm going through this with my dad. My dad has fairly wicked. In fact, he was just walking down the hallway to get his Gaviscon. If you heard me asking how he was, I can tell whenever he has chest pain from GERD. So with the GERD, remember the GERD really reacts to onion and garlic and high fat foods. And that's really where the IC diet is flawed, is the foods, the milks, the ice creams, the butters. It tends to be a bit more of a higher diet. So I use a lot of olive oil with mayonnaise. I get a mayonnaise that's olive oil based. So look at your fats, Corey. Look at your fat intake and see if there's any fats that might be triggering some of your GERD. He used to do a big, giant, thick peanut butter sandwich at 1 a.m. before he went to bed. He'd have the worst GERD at 4 a.m. And he finally accepted that the peanut butter was the problem. Lisa says it's not the same without the tomato sauce. Yeah, it's better. It's better. You got to try it. It's pretty damn good. Roundtable Pizza makes a great white sauce. Gosh, I had it at trivia night once. I wonder if I can find it. I tend to do... Yeah, it's their chicken and garlic gourmet, grilled white meat chicken, garlic mushrooms. You can ask for no tomatoes, a little onion, Italian herb seasoning, and creamy garlic sauce. Yeah, it was pretty good. Carolyn said, no, it wasn't Maxwell House. It was something, I think it started with a P, like Purex, although I think that's a detergent. Oh my God, it'll come to me. I'm having a memopause right now. Corey says, the IC diet your doctor gave you seems limiting. Well, hon, we were the ones who basically invented the IC diet list. So go over to icnetwork.org and go to our diet section, and you can print out or go to our free download area, and we've got a 13-page diet list with 3 columns, bladder friendly, try it, caution. And that's a good place to start. But we also have the research-based list first. So we tell people to start with the research list and then refer to the bigger list as you're playing with foods. What's a good IC-friendly tea? Chamomile herbal tea, peppermint herbal tea, pumpkin spice herbal tea, rooibos herbal tea. What you want to stay away from, like any of the big, like sleepy times. You got to look at the ingredients, make sure it doesn't contain rose hips or vitamin C or things like that, orange peel, that might be a little bit more irritating. So go with like a vanilla chamomile. Davidson's herbal tea, we sold for many, many years. Their website is davidsonstea.com. davidsonstea.com. And they had some children's teas which were interesting, but they have honey teas. I wonder if we should sell these again. So they had a French vanilla tea. What else did they have that we really liked? Autumn fruit and flowers. I like the ones that are like that. Yeah, check that. Also, if you have a Barnes and Noble in your town, they always put some Harney and Sons tea. Is it Harney and Sons? Yeah, I think that's the brand. Yeah, Harney and Sons teas. They've got a fabulous pumpkin spice tea. That's what I drink. Unfortunately, it comes in the little nylon silk bags that have now been Carolyn, thank you. It's Postum. That's it. So the instant low acid coffee is Postum. Carolyn, you're the bomb. Thank you for remembering that. Postum. Okay, I forgot what I was just talking about. Sorry. Katrina, I heard cinnamon lowers the acid level in coffee. I've had a lot of coffee for years because it's a huge trigger for me. I've not had coffee for years. I don't know. I don't have any data on that. I don't have any data on that. Oh, I know what I was talking about. Okay, so the Harney and Sons pumpkin spice tea, they use these silk tea bags that are nylon. We just had a research study 2 months ago which showed that these teas release thousands of microplastics into every cup of tea. So now I sent them all back. I'm not going to sell them. I happen to love it. So what I do is I cut the tea bag open and I just pour the tea into a little tea strainer instead. So I'm not using the silk bag. So if you've got a Barnes and Noble, they have a display right by the check stand of these Harney and Sons pumpkin spice tea, or you can go to their website, Harney and Sons. It's a pumpkin spice rooibos tea that is delightfully good and never irritated my bladder. To me, it's a perfect herbal tea. No, it's Postum. Lauren says white tea is a great one. Yeah, but white tea can be caffeinated and still a little bit acidic. Juanita, I took Elmeron 4 to 6 pills a day for 14 years and still had problems because of the eye problems. I decided to gradually get off. Started taking Desert Harvest Aloe and 2 Bladder Rest. I feel better now than I ever did. Yeah, baby. Come on, we need a bell. I need to be able to shake a bell when we get these good stories. That's awesome, hon. I'm so glad that's working for you. You feel better now on Bladder Rest and Aloe than you ever did on Elmeron. And think of the money you're saving. Because what Elmeron costs anywhere from, I mean, if insurance covers it, it might cost you $60. But if insurance doesn't cover it, it might cost $2,000 a prescription, where you can do supplements a month for under $100. Girl, I love it. I love it. That's great. Corey says, I've been trying to give up gluten, dairy, and sugar because they cause inflammation. I may have given up too much at once. Yeah, maybe. I was doing great until I took NyQuil and Dayquil on days and couldn't miss work. Yeah. You know, the gluten thing, I mean, like, I got tested for celiac. I'm negative for celiac, but I will tell you, I feel better. I feel better going gluten-free. I just feel better, which is why I don't eat cereal. And I don't eat a lot of white bread. I mean, I might eat sourdough bread every now and then. I don't get all bloated and gassy like I did when I was eating white bread and stuff. But, you know, it forces a major change in your lifestyle, and you're going to, you know, I eat now. So like my breakfast is usually Ezekiel bread, either with almond butter or avocado or Swiss cheese, or I'll make gluten-free pancakes for breakfast, or I'll do French toast with Ezekiel bread. For lunch, I usually don't do lunch, but I will do celery with almond butter, or a Kind bar, or popcorn. I'll do popcorn, and I'll do an apple. I try to do fruit, so I try to do an apple. And then for dinner, the flaw with my approach is I don't eat enough calories during the day, and so for dinner I can really chow down, which is bad because sometimes I just eat too much at dinner time. Like tonight, I'm going to make chow mein with vegetables for my folks. And so we're going to do fresh zucchini, fresh carrots, fresh celery, chicken, and some chow mein noodles. And I will be eating those noodles, possibly. But like I made pasta for them the other night, and I made macaroni and cheese, homemade macaroni and cheese. And so they got regular noodles, and then I used quinoa noodles. And the quinoa noodles, I'm so much better. I don't get all bloated and gassy. Hi, Julie. How do I get Pre-Leaf? You can buy it right from our store. I don't think we're sold out. You can get it on Amazon. Of course, when you buy it from Amazon, you won't, you know. The sad thing is it doesn't help us, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do, and I'm not going to feel bad about that. Pre-Leaf on Amazon. Yeah, there's a lot of Pre-Leaf on Amazon right now. Same. They're selling it for $12.08. We sell it for $12.50 in our store. So they've got us by 42 cents. Deborah says, do my parents have IC? The answer is yeah. My mother does. But we're Norwegian and Swedish, right? And so, man, there's all sorts of freaky things going on with our lineage and stuff like that. I mean, think about it. Our ancestors were up by the Arctic Circle, so our ability to tolerate a lot of the foods today are pretty slim to none. Like I can't eat oatmeal. I just can't eat oatmeal. It's brutal. I can't eat chocolate. So my mom has IC for sure. And it goes back. Her mother had IC. My aunts, my cousins. When I say IC, what we have is super sensitive skin. IC subtype 5, right? So we've got skin sensitivity. We've got drug sensitivity. We've got food sensitivity. We've got a wicked sense of smell. We've got chemical sensitivity. So we have a lot of sensitivities in our family. Here, hold on a sec. Now that the sun is setting, the light might be. Is this better? No? Okay, where is that coming from? Ah, darn it. All right, hold on. All right. Let's try it. Is it gonna work? All right. Sorry. When I make changes, things get out of whack. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, hold on. See, I've got a little light, right? Oh, that's terrible. All right. Well, it is what it is. All right. Kristen says, I am gluten intolerant. I've recently become lactose intolerant. It's making it much more challenging to find foods to eat that are also IC friendly. So remember this Lactaid, the guy who invented Pre-Leaf also invented Lactaid. And so we have out here in California a lot of lactose-free dairy products and things like that. I don't do milk per se. I really rarely do milk. I do Milk-A-Mix. And I've done that for 30 years. That works really, really well for me in place of milk when I need, something in my drink or if I need to make a cream sauce. Erin says, I had a delicious white sauce pizza with apple and butternut. It was amazing. Oh, Erin, girl, you got a recipe for that? I would love to try that. What is Pre-Leaf? Pre-Leaf is, Joanne, so Pre-Leaf is the oldest supplement that's been out. It's been out for more than 30 years. It's a simple calcium pill that you take before you're going to eat something spicy, and it will reduce the acid level of your urine. And so this is ideal for people who have acid sensitivity, if they've got GERD, if they've got stomach bowel issues or bladder sensitivities. And the guy who invented pre-leaf, his name is Alan Kligerman, lovely, lovely man, just a brilliant scientist. He invented lactate and Beano and other stuff too. He really did his work. And so he's got on preleaf.com acid reduction tables to show exactly how much acid gets removed. And I just did that for somebody yesterday or the day before. So let me give you a clue. 2 caplets of pre-leaf will reduce 97.5% of the acid in that coffee. It will release 99% of the acid in tea with lemon. It will reduce, let's see, 99.8% in 8 ounces of cola, which is not, remember, cans of cola are much bigger than that. 92% of acid in beer, 95% of acid in light beer, 50% of acid in peeled tomatoes with basil, 95%, two caplets will remove 95% of the acid in 6 tablespoons of red wine and vinegar. 95% of the acid in 2 tablespoons of chunky salsa. 80% of the acid in barbecue sauce. So, pre-leaf has been very involved with the IC community for as long as I've been involved, 26 years they've been around. And they, in fact, are the sponsor of this live support group meeting. They've sponsored the IC network since we were founded, and I'm very, very grateful to them. And it's really, we owe them a lot for all of their sponsorship of lots and lots of IC events over the years. All right, let's see here. Lauren says, okay, hold on, my mouse is being weird. That mouse is being weird. Lauren says, chamomile tea makes your bladder turn to lava. Wow, but drinking a very pure white tea is refreshing. Girl, that just shows everybody's very different. I would look at that. Maybe you're allergic to chamomile because that's very, very rare. Hi, Sheila. And John Lee explains that tannic acids are a problem in teas and also in wines. White tea was on the diet. I don't remember. I think white tea is in the on the try it column in the diet list. Lauren, I got to tell you, number one, I totally believe you. I don't want you to assume that I don't believe you. I totally believe you because I know we IC patients can have weird diet sensitivities. But you're the first, like in 20 years, who's reacted to chamomile. That's why I think maybe you have a little allergy to it or something. Michelle says she makes her own tea with an ionizer machine. The water has helped your bladder beyond belief. Cool. I don't know anything about that. AB water, and it's off the top of my head, I don't remember. John Lee says, my doctor told me 30 years ago that one size doesn't fit all. It's trial and error. I've had the same experiences with other things. We have to listen to our bodies. Absolutely. You are a wise man, John Lee. Sarah says, are the new vitamins available yet? No, but they should shortly. I think they were making them they either made them last week or this week. Kristen says, I use lactate, but find that dairy still irritates my bladder. Lactate does help the GI symptoms. And Kristen, I was exactly the opposite. What I found was that lactate gave me gas, which is why I just decided not to do any milk at all. Except if I go to Starbucks and I get something at Starbucks, I do coconut milk. I just don't do dairy milk. Where's that list? Brenda, preleaf.com under the FAQ, preleaf.com under the frequently asked questions. It's a table that says acid reductions. Gina says she also cannot have chamomile tea. You guys are blowing my mind, but I believe you. All right, my friends. Well, listen, we have been going for 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 26 seconds. And just think, this was my day off. Well, I hope that I've given you some good things to think about today, right? I mean, that ultimately in the end, we are all on a journey. We are all on the journey to understand the anatomical mystery of our pelvic pain. There's tremendous diversity in this. Why is my face so shiny? That is just crazy. All right. It's all the lighting has changed. The sun's going down. So ultimately in the end, you have a job, and your job is to try to understand what it is about your anatomy that is triggering your pain and discomfort. And this is what we know. You can have bladder symptoms that are not caused by a bladder issue. You can have pelvic floor dysfunction instead. You could have a fibroid tumor pushing on your bladder. You could have bladder endometriosis on top of your bladder. You could have bladder cancer if you were a smoker. Or if you have HPV, you could have a perforation of your bladder from a previous surgery. You know, there are lots and lots and lots of things that can trigger bladder pain. And the challenge that we have as IC patients are clinicians who say, you have IC, there's no hope, there's no treatment, without willing to get into the potential other conditions that are triggering this. And I always say, you are the boss. You pay them, they don't pay you. You are the captain of your ship. You are the boss, and you are the one who should be directing your care. And my purpose in doing these support group meetings is to give you as much information as I can, to tell you where to find the rest of the medication, and then kick you in the you-know-what and get you moving again. I don't want you sitting in your bedroom, laying in your bedroom, being passive. I don't want you to be a patient. I don't want you to wait for people to come to you. I want you to be a respite that's a responsible participant in your medical care. In other words, I want you to kick some butt. Start asking questions. Be vocal. Be bold, and mighty forces shall come to thy aid. Be willing to ask questions. Be willing to get a second opinion. Be willing to follow your instinct. Think about the patient that I talked about early on, the gentleman who's had IC for 10 years, right? Tried every bladder treatment. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. And then he hears about the IC network. He calls me on Friday. We have a nice long chat, and we try to figure out what his subtype is. And your intuition matters. Your intuition, your gut instinct should not be ignored. It should be ruled out. And so as we went back into his history, and I said, so what was going on 10 years ago? And he goes, I had a little problem with Dr. Pepper. He was massively addicted to Dr. Pepper, drank a lot of Dr. Pepper. And as we ruled out all of the other potential subtypes, everything kept coming back to chemical injury, right? From the Dr. Pepper. Because he was drinking a liter or two a day. He wasn't drinking water, he was drinking Dr. Pepper all day. And there are consequences to that. There's consequences to that massive level of acid erosion and caffeine on the bladder. And so what I think happened with him is I think he sustained a chemical injury to his bladder from the Dr. Pepper. And yet his symptoms, even though he'd been following the IC diet, his symptoms were still bad. He's peeing every 30 minutes. And so that's when we go back to the basics. Okay, so you have pain as your bladder fills with urine. Yes. All right. So it sounds like we've got a daily irritant going on in your bladder. And what that daily irritant was he was taking a multivitamin and drinking green tea. And, you know, in the entire 10 years, nobody ever asked him about the Dr. Pepper addiction. Or we have to consider the case of a patient who's was in our last support group meeting, who's been treated for IC oral medications for 30 freaking years. 30 years, nothing worked. And she, she attended one of these meetings. I said, you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. Let's take a second look. They took a second look, did an MRI. What'd they find? A mass in her pelvis, in her pelvic floor, which appears to be a big bundle of scar tissue. And it turns out she was a very accomplished horseback rider. And it turns out she'd fallen off her horse many times. And so now her therapy, rather than spending another 30 years doing bladder treatments, we're going to take a step back and ponder the location of this scar tissue / mass. And while, and the doctor is on it, Dr. Ken Peters, he's on it. He's like, that's a concern. We got to figure that out, because that is why she was having such pain whenever they did physical therapy and stuff like that. All right. So you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. You have the right to follow your hunch, but you've got to do it in a educated and informed way. You shouldn't just say, hey, I think that this is, I think I have chronic infection, therefore I'm just going to take all the antibiotics I've been saving. Don't do that. That's just stupid. If you think you've got chronic infection, do a test first. Do a test. Do a next generation test. See what it finds. This is about gathering data. We need more data to try to figure out what is going on in your body. All right, my friends. Well, listen, I'm going to wish. So over on our website, I have a couple of videos on holidays, surviving the holidays. I know we talked about that earlier, but you can watch those videos too. I've also got a video on Thanksgiving to give you some ideas for that. And so on that note, this is the last call for questions. Last call for questions. Becky says, have you had oat milk? It's so good. I love it. I am very allergic to oats, so I wouldn't touch it with 10-foot pole myself. Erin, finally on the couch with the eating pad. Yeah, baby. That's what I wish for you, joy, every day. I want you to have some joy. Thank you, you guys. You're very, very sweet. So John, Loretta. So after 20 years, you're having problems again. So I need you to consider the role of estrogen atrophy now, because you are 20 years older. So the odds are your hormone levels have changed, and that is why your bladder is more vulnerable. So I want you to Google estrogen atrophy or genitourinary syndrome of menopause, also known as GSM. GSM. Hold on a sec. It's shiny. I wanted to print out the cover of our fall magazine so you could see it. It's at the printer now. What do I get at Starbucks? I get well, a lot of people get vanilla creamers. You can get steamed milk or steamed coconut milk with caramel flavoring, stuff like that. But my bladder is solid right now, so I get a decaf latte. Ah! Hey man, it's a support group meeting with me if something doesn't fall, or if something does fall. Hold on. So this is the cover of our fall magazine. Alrighty. So if you find these support group meetings helpful, please come on over to the IC Network and become a member so that you can get our magazine, which is a much more in-depth review of the information that you're going to find on our website. And I will be previewing this at our next support group meeting, which I think, let's look at the calendar here. I don't even know. What day is December 1st? Next Sunday. So hopefully I will be on and everybody will be okay, and I will be doing a support group meeting next Sunday. Carolyn says, can the calcium in pre-leaf cause gas? For some people. You know, less is more. If we want to send you something, what address would we use? We have a P.O. box on our website, P.O. Box 2159 in Healdsburg, California. Or Aaron, if you private message me, I can give you my home address too. Hey guys, you know what? I love Christmas cards. I absolutely love getting Christmas cards. And if you guys like Christmas cards in return, I would love to get a Christmas card from you so that I can send you a Christmas card back. I love Christmas cards. All right, my friends. I will see you later. Have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next Sunday. Time for a walk. I got to get out of this house. Oops. Goodbye, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. All right, YouTube. Be well, you guys. I'll see you soon. Have a good turkey day.